Hello, everyone, and welcome. Get excited. VML playoffs, top 16. A lot of action happening tonight. But wait, VML? Who's the VML? We're the VML. Welcome. We are an amazing league showcasing the talents of amazing people within the Magic community, people of marginalized genders, 64 players. We divided those players into 8 different divisions. They played round robin for 7 weeks. Then cut to top 24. Top 24 was last week, so that makes this week 9 of 10. 10-week long Magic Arena League. $3,500 prize pool. There's an invite to the next premier Wizard Magic event online. There's doggy toys.
I'm so sorry. I swear he was fine and quiet literally right before we went live, and now all of a sudden we're live. He's like, the people need to see me.
Are you not stoked? Apollo is stoked. I am stoked.
He is.
Who am I, by the way? I'm Nicole Callahan, also known as Lady of the Cruise, joined here by the wonderful Apollo and Apollo's person, Beky Bell, also known as Beky Bear over there on Twitter. How are you doing tonight, Beky?
I'm doing good. Apollo's doing good too. You're going to hear him squeaking in my background every once in a while. I promise. We went on a big walk right before this. I made sure that he was going to be calm. And of course, the moment we start to go live, he's just like, this is the Apollo show now. And hopefully he'll come down in a sec, but for a moment we will be hearing a little bit of squeaking in the background, which means that he's doing good, I'm doing good, and I'm ready to see exactly who we're bringing into the top 8 in the final week of our season.
Yes, like I said, this is week 9 out of 10, but all of our players here are a total 10 out of 10s. And I know Apollo got excited there. We were starting to talk about our prize pool. We want a big thank you to Energy Series, to Wizards of the Coast, and to Channel Fireball for making the season possible. If you take a look at our prize breakdown there, it's $3,500 cash to top 16. So everybody you're seeing tonight is already getting a piece of that pie. And they also got 500 gems per group stage match win. That went to any competitor. You won a match in the round robin, you got 500 gems. Pretty sweet. You could see CFB Channel Fireball Pro subscriptions going out to our top 8. 1 year to first place, 1 month to the rest of the top 8. And an invite to a future set championship from Wizards there to our champion, who we will crown next week. But in order to get to the top 8, you got to get through the top 16 first. So we're going to be checking out matches tonight from that top 16. You can take a look here. These were our division leaders who got a bye right into the top 16. They didn't even have to play top 24. So big ups to them for finishing at the top of their divisions. We got GoGoFlowerRanger there at Division 1, our only undefeated as of right now, 7-0, and we will be watching them play later on tonight. We have Division 2, we have Grace, Division 3, Haiyue, Division 4, MightyLinguine, Division 5, Annabelious, Division 6, Emmaskyeward, Division 7, Mel Woods, and Division 8, Arya Karamchandani. Now, we are going to be taking a quick look into these players in a little more depth a little later on as the night goes on. We have nice little player slides made up for each and every one of them.
Thank you, Nicole.
Celebrate all of their awesome achievements. So, well, that lovely slide was made by none other than the wonderful Beky Bell. So, Beky, thank you so much for the awesome graphics and making.
I do my best.
We're a team here. We got Phoebe behind the scenes, as always. Phoebe, we love you. Our wonderful producer, making sure that everything comes together smoothly. Sometimes she has to hold us all together with bubble gum and duct tape, but she holds us together. That's for sure.
Very true.
We love you, Phoebe.
Good, because I'm all out of duct tape.
Oh no,
duct tape.
We don't want to be out of duct tape. We need that.
I hear from backstage we have no more duct tape. It's bubble gum from here on out. Some of that fruit.
As long as it's chewed bubble gum, I don't mind.
Well, I don't know about you, but I am ready to get into this top 16 action.
I've been ready. I've been waiting. I've been ready. Let's get into it.
Yes, first things first is our first top 16 competitor, division winner Emmaskyeward. Now, we will not be watching Emma's match tonight, but we are going to take a look at what she chose to bring after her bye week off last week into the top 16. And it looks like not much changing here. Emma has been very loyal to her aggro decks all season, bouncing between mono white and mono green, landing on mono green this week. So looks like a pretty stock list. Your Essex Chariots still has the Ren and Sevens in there. So a lot of lists have dropped them, but Emma likes it. She's holding strong. Do you have any thoughts on this list to start?
I mean, you pretty much covered it with the Rena and Seven comment. But I think it all comes down to like we see that Emma mentions that she has loved playing mono green for a long time and is just like excited every time it is something that is viable in a format. So I think that that kind of tells you all you need to know about why those Ren and Sevens are still in the deck. If you really have liked playing a deck for a long time and you're really used to playing it in a certain way, as we can imagine Emma has, then keeping something like those Ren and Sevens that you're just used to playing with and are kind of like a comfort pick in cards for the deck, then it just makes sense to go ahead and keep playing them if you don't feel like they're that horribly positioned. And that could just be exactly why Emma has them still in her list.
Yes, Emma finishing at a very impressive 6-1 at the top of Division 6. Last season had been one of two undefeated players going into top 16. She was in a very similar position last year, but last year she had 0 losses, got into the top 16 and lost immediately. So has a bit of a chip on her shoulder this season, wants things to go a little different, was able to win the division again, and wants to make a little more headway this year, getting past the top 16. So I know she's going to fight for it, and we are looking forward to hearing the results of that matchup. So now let's see the match we have at hand tonight. We're going to be checking out division leader Haiyue, who took down Division 3 pretty impressively this season, and she will bring Jeskai Pinchy, Monsieur Le Pinchy.
And for those of you at home, who maybe don't know who Monsieur Le Pinchy is, that is Hullbreaker Horror.
I had to ask earlier. I was like, "How do you spell Monsieur?" And my husband was like, "Why do you need to know that?" I'm like, "For Monsieur Le Pinchy." He's like, "Who's that?" I was like, "Hullbreaker Horror," and he rolled his eyes. So I was like, I mean, if you know, you know. So
if you know, you know, and it sounds like Jim doesn't know. So come on, Jim, you gotta get on board with Monsieur Le Pinchy here. And we know, I mean, if any of you at home know Haiyue, you know that Haiyue loves a good control deck. And so playing something like this Jeskai deck is right up her alley, and it's been something that she has played for a lot of this season. So yet another comfort pick going into the top 16. And I've got to admire all these people who are going into a high level tournament and being able to pick up a deck that they just know that they're comfortable with and is a style of deck that they like playing, and are just taking it to the end and getting far with it. Like, that's better than I can say that I did this season. So big props to everyone who is playing their comfort picks and rocking out with them.
No, I absolutely love it. And even though Haiyue does say that her favorite deck had been mono white aggro, just her groove is just like Jeskai control-y, blue white control-y decks and things like that, and just really wanted to play Hullbreaker Horror again, and had to do it. Had to come back here in the top 16, bring it back Hullbreaker Horror. Now, just for clarification purposes, we are going to be looking at player slides from each of the division leaders. We will be checking out a player slide of the division leader of a match that we will not be watching tonight, and then we will look at a player slide for the division leader that we will be watching. There's only one slide for each match tonight, but we will go over each opponent's deck tonight as well. And on the flip side of this matchup, against Haiyue tonight will be Zabracus on an Orzhov mid-range deck. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup here, I think.
Yeah.
And we're going to take a look here to see if Haiyue will be able to stop Edgar and all his vampire cronies, or if Zabracus and her sweepers will take the day. I'm ready to get into it.
I'm actually very interested in Zabracus's deck, and I think the moment you all start to watch this match, you will be just as interested in it as I am. It's kind of a wild list to be bringing. It's not something that I think I've seen a ton of, and it's got some pretty cool cards. And I think that if any card is going to be able to be annoying and resilient against something like this Jeskai control deck, it's going to be something like Edgar Charmed Groom. So I'm excited to see how that is going to play into this. Unfortunately, Zabracus's deck is playing 3 copies of Blood on the Snow, which I can't imagine is going to be a huge factor in this matchup, as well as 1 copy of Path of Peril. But I mean, having something at least, and hopefully being able to maybe work with these Deadly Disputes that are also in the deck to just get a lot of value off of some of the removal spells that Haiyue's going to throw back. It'll be an interesting match for sure, and we're starting off strong here with this Professor of Symbology and going and grabbing that copy of Environmental Sciences and making sure that we're going to be able to get these lands onto the battlefield and be able to keep up with this control deck.
Yeah, Graveyard Trespasser can be a real beater in this matchup. It's a little difficult for Haiyue to remove, although she does have a Dragon's Fire in hand right now that was drawn after the mulligan to 6. So Professor getting in the red zone there, though, bringing Haiyue down to 18. Zabracus, like you said, has a wealth of resources here and is opting to go with that Trespasser coming down. And on a mulligan to 6, having to discard a card to Graveyard Trespasser feels kind of bad.
It feels really bad. I actually am so in love with the card Graveyard Trespasser. It is just, especially in these control matchups, having a bunch of different ways to get people to discard cards. And as you said, Haiyue is on a mulligan 2/6. So discarding those cards is not something that is like super non-zero here. Normally against like control decks when they're at 7 and they're getting to draw a bunch of cards, it's maybe not going to matter as much. But in this situation and in this game 1, it is certainly a great card to have in multiples for the hand of Zabracus.
Yes, and you can see that the Thundering Rebuke was one of the only other permanent answers to Graveyard Trespasser went back into the deck off of that Galvanic Iteration. We see Professor getting in again, bringing down to 16. So Professor doing some work here, and we see that second Graveyard Trespasser hitting the battlefield here. Now, Haiyue is going to be able to play a Goldspan Dragon, but gonna lose that iteration that was in the graveyard here. So it can block. Goldspan Dragon can block, but that's not normally a place you want to be.
Yeah, certainly not where you want to be. And I imagine we won't see this Goldspan Dragon doing anything but attacking. And I think that the reason has to be that Haiyue is just so interested in having an abundance of mana, especially with having this unexpected windfall in hand. Just trying to keep up with some of the damage that Zabracus is going to be putting across the table means more to Haiyue than saving something back as a blocker.
Yes, and we'll see Trespasser eating a Dragon's Fire from the graveyard. So concentrating a little more in the graveyard. Haiyue does have 2 copies of Lear, Disciple of the Drowned in her deck. So we will see if that comes into play at all, if the graveyard comes into play. But Loth is here, Spider Queen.
I am in love with Loth. People at my work make fun of me for this all the time, but I'm a big fan of the D&D set because I'm also just a big fan of Dungeons & Dragons, and Loth is one of my favorite characters to come out of that. And even just being able to get a little bit of extra value there off of being able to get some loyalty back off of that Cinderclasm. Ultimately, it's not going to be enough, but the ability to just get a little bit of extra oomph off of your creatures being destroyed is so huge. And this black-white deck is proving to be surprisingly resilient, and we might even see this Blood on the Snow actually matter for Zabracus.
Oh, yeah, I see that because a Lear at a 3/4 body is doing a little something against this Graveyard Trespasser here. Zabracus does have 2 creature lands in play, but is that a snow-covered swamp? Those fancy
the 8-bit
lands.
ones.
Very good. So we'll be able to and just attacked into the Lear. Gonna look like they're gonna trade, but here comes that Blood on the Snow.
Yeah, I mean, going for the attack, like if your creature is going to die anyway, going for the attack and being able to take away one of those cards in the graveyard is just a better situation to end up being in. Luckily for Haiyue, having this Fading Hope in hand will allow for her to keep one of these creatures safe should she choose to, but kind of deciding if that is the correct play or not. I do like this decision.
I think she could do both, right? Because she could flash back with Lear.
Mm-hmm.
She still has the 1. Oh, look at that. How fancy.
So, and absolutely nuts, and something you wouldn't be able to do if Goldspan Dragon wasn't a card. But at least for Zabracus being able to get back this Loth off of that second text that usually isn't relevant on Blood on the Snow is going to be absolutely huge here, and at least keep Zabracus in a healthier place in this game.
Yeah, and we see the draw for turn divide by 0. So Haiyue not really wanting to miss land drops here probably doesn't feel too great.
Doesn't feel too great. The Goldspan Dragon can come into play and make that treasure tap for 2 more on top of also being able to just, like, set up for this unexpected windfall the next turn, and then that's basically all the mana you could possibly need. But it does feel a little bit scary now that Haiyue is seeing that, like, oh, there's 3 cards in hand still. Zabracus has been kind of like slow to play them. And so now is about the time where you would start to be potentially a little wary of like, what are those other cards in your hand? Do you have more board wipes? Should I be scared of them?
Yeah, we'll see. This is a big turn here. You know, lots of choices. Very important choices. Haiyue at 11, and that life total can go down very quickly. Like I said, there's 2 creature lands in play, and 3 cards in Zabracus' hand. Now, the environmental sciences is known, but the other 2 unknown cards, it's kind of a scary place to be.
Definitely a scary place to be. And it looks like that Goldspan Dragon will be the play. And I do like this decision. I don't know if I like the attack because it's just going to end up being blocked by both of these spiders that have reach. And it seems like a pretty no-brainer trade for Zabracus. But I get that if you're high, you kind of feel forced into just trying to make something happen and get a little bit of extra treasure. There is I mean, you could attack, get the treasure, use it to cast a divide by 0, and then get rid of one of these spiders. And that's probably the play that I think Haiyue is going to be make. But I don't think it personally feels very good to be going for this play. But with the cards that Haiyue has in hand, that might just need to be a when push comes to shove kind of situation.
Ooh, and it looks like just a single block on the Goldspan Dragon, though. So not putting up to get blown out here by a divide by 0 or by a double bounce spell or anything like that.
Yeah, that's actually a super heads up play from Zabracus, and I like that a lot. But it also kind of has to give a little bit of a signal to Haiyue as well, being like, oh, if you're trying to save the creatures that you have on the field and not trying to trade with something like this Goldspan Dragon, that has to kind of symbolize that maybe Zabracus's hand wasn't as impressive as Haiyue maybe initially thought.
Yeah, we'll see. Faceless Haven getting in here. Will Haiyue take that 4 damage? It looks like she will, dropping down to 7, a Graveyard Trespasser to follow up. Divide by 0 would be a temporary answer without needing to discard a card to Graveyard Trespasser. Oh, wait, no, it... Yeah, it should
Also,
be.
I was totally wrong earlier when I said we could divide by 0 a token. Divide by 0 does say 1 or more. I constantly forget that, which is also probably why I am not in the top 16 every time I tried to play divide by 0.
Well, this is a good chance for Haiyue to reload here. Teachings of the Archaics is what was learned with that divide by 0. As of right now, not really having an answer for Graveyard Trespasser per se, but it looks like a couple of lands or the draws off of that Teachings of the Archaics. So the lone Goldspan Dragon hanging out right now. And it looks like it's going after Loth. And the treasure it will make will leave Haiyue with 5 mana here available, which can cast the Leer or an Unexpected Windfall as that spider goes down. So Loth with another loyalty counter up to 3. Zabracus is still at a very healthy 15 life. Haiyue down to 7. And it looks like going with the tapping very carefully.
Yeah, if we go for the Unexpected Windfall this turn, we would get enough treasure to also still cast the Leer. So this is an interesting play to be going for on this turn. And this turn, we could even still cast another Unexpected Windfall and still have the mana to cast Leer. Yet again, very cool combination of a bunch of treasures plus a Goldspan Dragon. But it looks like we're just going to go ahead and go for the Leer this turn and save this second Unexpected Windfall.
Yeah, net some treasures instead next turn. Field of Ruin, the draw on Zabracus' side, and so we see that Graveyard Trespasser, Environmental Sciences, Double Land, and a Shambling Gas that's just been hanging out in the hand for a while now. Shambling Gas, not great in the late game, good in the early game. It's a nice source of ramp or small removal spell. Lulz at 3 too is an awkward place to be. It looks like going to opt to draw a card here. I twitch the draw.
Yeah, this is an interesting place to be in for Zabracus. There's a lot of decisions based on clearly the function of just having a ton of cards in hand, but I like going ahead and trying to put a ton of pressure onto Haiyue's life total. And blocking here with Leer would be certainly not what Haiyue wants to do. So I like forcing the matter now and putting Haiyue to a low enough life total that it makes some decisions later down the line easier.
Yeah, this is a big block or don't block right here. Faceless Haven coming across for 4. That's more than half of Haiyue's life total, down to 3, knowing that Graveyard Trespasser is in hand. So that's another, depending on what's getting eaten here, can be another life that would bring Haiyue down to 2. Let's see what the choice is. Graveyard Trespasser is down. And will it be a card from Haiyue's graveyard? Or will Zabracus go for the life drain and go for her own graveyard?
Yeah, I like the decision to exile something from Haiyue's graveyard. I just don't think you can ignore the Leer that's in play. And I think that especially now that we've seen Haiyue decide to keep Leer around and not block to preserve her life total, it's showing just how important this Leer is to Haiyue. And so going for the cards in the graveyard is going to make Leer worse. I like this decision, and it is certainly shaping up to be a very close game as a result of these decisions.
Yes, I could see Unexpected Windfall getting cast there, discarding a land, drawing 2 more lands. So Haiyue looking down at her hand with 4 lands. Thank goodness for Leer, because being able to look down and see 4 spells feels a heck of a lot better. So it's a question of which spell, and it looks like Expressive Iteration and Spikefield Hazard and 2 more lands will be the reveals. That does not feel great. Gonna put 1 land back in the deck and 1 land into exile. Play that land.
So yeah, we can go for this Spikefield Hazard. All right, we're going to destroy the Eye Twitch. That at least allows this Goldspan Dragon to do some attacking either at Lulz or at Zabracus. Looks like we're going to... Haiyue is going faster than I can talk here even. Not something you used to seeing from a control player, but I appreciate it from Haiyue here. And now with an abundance of treasure, we can kind of decide exactly what we want to do, or if we want to simply hold up and be reactive. And as a good control player that Haiyue is, going for that play of continuously holding things up and trying to be reactive. The only downside to this reactive kind of play style is that the cards that Haiyue is being reactive with are the ones that Zabracus can plainly see in the graveyard because it's all known information. Haiyue probably at this point is also simply hoping that the 4 unknown cards in her hand that are all lands are just scary enough that Zabracus is forced into continuing to play very safely.
Yes, and because at the same time, all of the spells that Leer can access are all very well known by Zabracus. So having drawn a Meathook Massacre, which I feel like maybe the least dead of all the sweepers in Zabracus's deck during this, although we did see Blood on the Snow do a little bit of work earlier. Meathook Massacre, even the static ability, just being on the battlefield anytime Zabracus would have a creature die, or anytime I guess Haiyue would have one of her creatures die, you know, you get a little something there, gaining life, draining life, something. But it looks like more pressure, just gonna keep pushing. I like this by Zabracus. I like the constant pressure, just keep attacking. And
it's sad though. I bet Zabracus, like, I mean, obviously, ideally, there would be... Oh, we could have... Okay, No, we're still 1 mana off. I was thinking maybe we could have gone with the Environmental Sciences, gotten another snow-covered land, and been able to activate both Faceless Havens, but we would have still been 1 mana off of that. So that would have been the ideal, as those cannot be divided by 0, but just barely unable to do it is certainly not the best place for Zabracus to be in. But at least this one Faceless Haven will be able to force the matter likely of making sure that this Leer has to block, as we can use this divide by 0, discard a card to the Graveyard Trespasser, but this Faceless Haven is kind of a thorn in Haiyue's side, as it can't be divided by 0 when it already is 0.
Yeah, that's this is quite a tight position, but Hullbreaker Horror was drawn off of that unexpected windfall. So I feel like if Haiyue can just turn the corner here, if she can survive this turn, which it looks like she should, then things might start to turn a little bit here. So as of right now, Haiyue has 3 lands in hand. Doesn't really mind the discarding a card to that Graveyard Trespasser so much anymore.
Yeah, certainly not the worst thing to have to do, and I totally agree with you. I think if we get to the point where we get to Haiyue's next turn, and she doesn't somehow lose the game right here, and according to my calculations, pushes glasses up very smartly, obviously, I don't see there being a way for Haiyue to lose the game this turn if she just like makes these blocks. So going ahead and just getting to the next turn and being able to untap with this Hullbreaker Horror in hand, I think is going to really start to wreak havoc on what Zabracus has done in this game.
I absolutely love that play. The Spikefield Hazard, the Goldspan Dragon to net
Wow.
a mana.
I
Make
mean,
an extra
okay.
treasure.
Yeah.
And went from 6 mana to 7 mana. And again, this is why Haiyue is in the driver's seat and not me. So
yeah, my only concern with this play is you could have easily been blown out by a removal spell. Zabracus is playing 4 copies of Vanishing Verse in hand. If there was a Vanishing Verse in Zabracus's hand, this would have been a play that could have resulted in the game just ending in Zabracus's favor. But I think Haiyue was probably thinking if that was the case, the game would have been over by now, so I don't need to worry about it. And now with this Pinchy on the field is looking extremely well positioned.
yes, and we see a Shambling Guest here, timely, Spikefield Hazard on the side of Haiyue. So we'll see how she's going to play this out. Zabracus at 16, but when you have a 7/8 and a 4/4, that can go down pretty quickly. Counting up the mana here, seeing exactly what she can do. Is she comfortable getting in with both? And it looks like the answer is yes.
Ooh.
So
I mean, yeah, you've got this Hullbreaker Horror that is just gonna keep anything from ever being able to connect with you, and so you don't need that many spells to make it work. I will respect if she decides to keep back this Hullbreaker Horror just to be safe. I mean, you can never be too safe, and as long as this Hullbreaker Horror stays on the battlefield, like, I think you're in just such a great place that you don't have to worry about anything. So I like going ahead with holding back this Hullbreaker Horror. Also, there's something to be said for still having some concern about these Faceless Havens that Zabracus has on her side of the field.
yeah, and it looks like Haiyue sort of agrees and it's just like, you know what? I'm not gonna put everything in on this Hullbreaker Horror. I'm gonna bounce and recast my own Goldspan Dragon, still having the mana up to divide by 0. Another Meat Hook Massacre was the draw here.
There's definitely something to be said for when you play a deck and you're like, this deck is really strong, but then you watch somebody who knows really like all the ins and outs and cool little tricks with the deck, and you're like, wow, this deck is really strong. And that's me watching Haiyue play this deck right now.
It is unbelievable. That is. Oh, so let's see. This is again a big turn for Zabracus here. Like, can't really attack with the Faceless Haven. You know, it looks like going to be priced into casting this Meat Hook Massacre here, and divide by 0 is waiting.
Yeah, and certainly is going to be a big problem for Zabracus, who then is facing down 11 damage, is at 12. If Haiyue can just find one way to do that last point of damage, this game is looking very close to over.
Yes, we'll see. Environmental Sciences grabbing another land, going up, but Mascot Exhibition on the side of Haiyue. So that's 3 more blockers if need be. Another land in the draw for turn, but the important part is having that Mascot Exhibition in hand. Does not look like she'll be able to deal lethal this turn. 7.
Yeah.
Now, if Zabracus draws a land, will she be able to meat hook for 8?
I think that's what Haiyue is counting.
Haiyue's counting
right now. We can see her mouse moving across the board, and I think based on how long it is taking Haiyue to guess this, I'm going to guess that the answer is yes. It looks like Zabracus currently has 9 mana in play. 1 more land as the draw for turn would be a meat hook massacre for 8.
Yes, and so it looks like Hullbreaker Horror gonna, hold back. Oh, wait, no, it looks like Mascot Exhibition will happen here. Gonna bounce that Goldspan Dragon once again, and that will be the insurance in hand. Now, Meat Hook Massacre says when your opponent's creatures die, you gain life. So I believe Haiyue would be more worried about the whole when Zabracus's creatures die, she would lose life. So being at 2, it's a scary place to be. We'll see Vanishing Verse taking care of that Hullbreaker Horror. So Monsieur Le Pinchy is down for the count, as are the 3 mascots. So Zabracus back up to 13.
Oh my
Haiyue
gosh.
still hanging on at 2. And Behold the Multiverse, probably one of the better draws in the deck, getting to get a good look here, dig a little bit. Galvanic Iteration and Fading Hope at the top. And
wow. I mean,
wants them both.
Yeah, I mean, Fading Hope is a great card, especially against Faceless Haven, which is the main concern, I think, for Haiyue at this point in the game. So this game has been so back and forth. Haiyue has been at like 3 or less life for so long, and it's been so scary. But Zabracus has just been able to draw low-key what she's needed every single time, and it's just proven to be an extremely tense back and forth match.
Yeah, we see Faceless Haven activated and bounced, and this will also give Haiyue a scry. Valorous Stance. That's a
doesn't destroy Faceless Haven. Unfortunately, it is a 4/3. Could give something indestructible, but considering most of the cards from Zabracus' side are going to be exiling, just going to go ahead and not deal with that. The second Galvanic Iteration, probably not exactly what Haiyue wanted to see.
No, definitely not. And this Goldspan Dragon is now on blocking duty against that Faceless Haven. I can't really do much else. And yeah, that'll do it, because when Goldspan Dragon blocks, it will kill the Faceless Haven, and iTwitch gets across for the 1. So that'd be a 2-0. So Zabracus will take down game number 1 in a real nail biter.
That was actually insane.
That was a crazy game of poker, I'll tell you that. We'll see Haiyue getting to the sideboard here. Valor Stances right out. Not so interested on the Fading Hopes. A lot of the removal coming out. And speaking of removal coming out, in come the Duresses, in come the Spellbinders. But I don't think Zabracus is going to be very interested in any of those sweepers anymore.
Yeah, I think she actually played with them extremely well in that first game, for what it's worth. I would maybe potentially decide to keep some of them in, but I love seeing these go blanks come in. I think that card is absolutely insane in this matchup. Not to mention that I'm just like a big fan of a of course, now as I'm gonna go say it, I'm just a big fan of any of the 3-mana discard 2 cards, and especially the ones with upside always make me happy to see be a part of Standard. So I love that those are a big part of it, going to lower on the Deadly Disputes as they're maybe just not going to be we're not holding up a ton of mana to be able to react in that sort of way. We're hoping that we're getting creatures on the board and maybe not using those Deadly Disputes as much. So I like taking those out, or at least shaving on them a little bit. I would like to see maybe one more Mia Hook Massacre or one more of these Blood on the Snows come out. But we'll see exactly what Zabracus decides to go with here.
It looks like shaving the Spellbinder here and there. Definitely want all 3 duresses. So, there are certain things that were non-negotiable here. Do love a go blank. Good go blank, yes.
Mm-hmm. Just trying to figure out what this final card is that we're getting rid of.
Just submit 61.
No. I think in some situations 61 is okay. Usually against a control deck, I do not like to go to 61. I think against an aggro deck, I could see it, but
I can see it. And it looks like you're going to mulligan a 6 here. Kind of a slow 7. So decided to go down to 6. And having a divide by 0, a couple of unexpected windfalls. Just got to hope that Zabracus doesn't have a really quick start here, which doesn't look like she does. Starting Shambling Guest. Duress, a timely draw here. Meat Hook Massacre and 4 lands left in Zabracus's hand. Takes one of the unexpected windfalls. What are your thoughts about that?
I mean, getting rid of a way to filter through a lot of Haiyue's deck, I think, has a lot of good reason to stand by it. So I like that decision. It's hard to decide exactly what is the correct thing to go for. I personally probably would have gone with the divide by 0. I would have gone with the cheaper spell that I'm further away from having to worry about. But the unexpected windfalls can kind of just go absolutely nuts when they're comboed with that Goldspan Dragon. So I like seeing the Goldspan Dragon and deciding to nuke one of the unexpected windfalls and keep a little bit safe from some of those insane plays that can come forth.
And now we'll see Haiyue drawing 4th land, really important here. Got the environmental sciences off of the learn. Still at a very healthy 18 life. Zabracus, not too much pressure on the battlefield yet, but Haiyue very well aware of the elite spellbinder in Zabracus's hand. So that doesn't feel good when you have your Goldspan Dragon that you want to cast out, but a Cinderplasm in hand might ease the pain a little bit here.
Certainly does ease the pain, especially when you know that one of the creatures coming onto the board is one that will die to that Cinderplasm. It is going to be a little unfortunate that we're going to have something be... Ooh.
I like this.
Okay.
Looty, fresh and fruity. I love it.
Looty, fresh and fruity indeed, into a way to cast that Cinderplasm before the elite spellbinder can take it out of the hand. One of these Goldspan Dragons is going to get a little more expensive, but that's okay because one Goldspan Dragon can bridge the gap into the next one.
Yeah, and that's looks like it's exactly what's going to happen here. Goldspan getting in for 4. Zabracus down to 16. Meat Hook Massacre and an Eye Twitch in hand. And it looks like the Meat Hook Massacre is going to happen here. So X equals 4 are going to take care of the first Goldspan Dragon. And Jawari Disruption is a 7th land, but it's a slow 7th land. So back to Zabracus we go. Eye Twitch and Graveyard Trespasser. Graveyard Trespasser, definitely a card that did a lot of work in game 1, but it looks like just keep on putting the pressure on, not going to commit any more permanents to the battlefield before firing up that Faceless Haven. And here comes Trespasser. Now that's a clock.
Certainly a clock, and helping to get rid of some of those things from that graveyard. But 7 lands now, luckily for Haiyue, does mean that this Goldspan Dragon can come onto the field and start doing a little bit of damage back as well. Should Haiyue choose to go for that instead of maybe potentially holding up a blocker? And it looks like holding up a blocker will be the play, is realizing that with that Faceless Haven activation from that last turn, potentially just holding back something on defense will help protect her life total a little bit more And potentially also being worried kind of after how that first game went, being like forced into certain decisions as a result of a lower life total, being like, I don't want that to happen again, and choosing this decision tree as a result of that.
Yeah, and it looks like that Faceless Haven gonna get in here, no blocks. So Haiyue gonna drop down to 9. And iTwitch gonna follow up, and a land and a Cinderclasm is here. Not doing as much work right now as it did, but it's a tough spot to be in. Really like that 7th land for this Hullbreaker Horror.
Yeah, we certainly would. And now we're kind of priced into yet another interesting decision. And it looks like this time we're going to go for the attack will be blocked by the iTwitch. The iTwitch will allow a little bit of a learn as well as some drain from this Meat Hook Massacre. And gets us to a place where we can cast the Hullbreaker Horror, but can't really do anything immediately after. Usually you like to follow up a Hullbreaker Horror with a 1-mana spell, but you know, you can't always have everything all of the time. And it looks like the learned spell is going to be that Necrotic Fumes to allow Zabracus to just say goodbye to one of these bigger creatures that Haiyue has on the field.
Yeah, it looks like that Elite Spellbinder is a very timely draw on the side of Zabracus, getting to take a look at the hand and forcing the Hullbreaker Horror to come down before Haiyue probably would have liked it to, because now it is vulnerable to the Necrotic Fumes in Zabracus's hand. Elite Spellbinder going to take a look and going to say, you know what, Test of Talents, get out of here. So Test of Talents now 4 mana. Cinderclasm still there. Doesn't care too much about that. A 4/4 Graveyard Glutton now. That'll drain for 2 every time it attacks, as long as it eats 2 creatures. And Necrotic Fumes going to exile both the Elite Spellbinder and the Hullbreaker Horror, as Elite Spellbinder probably not long for this world with Cinderclasm in hand. Graveyard Glutton getting in. Just 2 cards from Haiyue, so not draining there, but Haiyue dropping down to 4 regardless. And no spells, so it went from night to day, back to night, Duress the draw, Faceless Haven, coming alive. Haiyue cannot do anything about this. Graveyard Glutton and Faceless Haven, 2 attackers, only the 1 blocker. Tested Talents and Cinderclasm not going to do much here. So it looks like this going to do it. Zabracus is going to take this crazy match down.
Wow.
2 games to none. Good games to both of our players there. That was an insane match. One of the best game ones that I think we've watched all season. Just absolutely phenomenal. So well played by both sides. So good games to both Zabracus and Haiyue. Haiyue, congratulations again on taking down division number 3 and making the top 16. You did a great job. Zabracus, best of luck to you in the top 8. We have our first top 8 competitor. And to give everybody a second to kind of take all that in, we're going to just take a 1-minute break here, if y'all don't mind hanging out. And while we're on break, make sure you're following us here on on Twitch, following us on Twitter at VMLMTG. And why don't you go over to mtgproshop.com/VML and check out our sweet swag we got there. I don't know, you know, I've got my little VML.
Oh, I have my old one.
Look at
I'm not wearing the new one yet.
You know, there's both. There's both.
Good, yeah, a little bit of both.
We'll
this fits my wardrobe a little bit nicer. Very black and gray.
That looks good. All right. Oh my gosh. I still need a minute to recover from that match. That was insane. Both players bringing the heat, and I can't imagine it cooling down any from here. For those of you who are just joining us, welcome. We are the VML. We're brought to you in association with NRG Series, sponsored by Wizards of the Coast. We showcase the talents of amazing people of marginalized genders within the Magic community, and tonight is our top 16. We have culminated from our 64 player pool a wonderful top 16 of chock full of incredibly talented players, and they're all doing battle tonight to make the top 8, which we will be featuring next week when we will crown our champion. And we just finished our first match of the evening, and it was a doozy.
It was a nail biter.
Incredible, a real nail biter. And I can only imagine the rest of the night is going to be very similar, and I cannot wait to get into our next match. Before we do that, we're going to check out a slide of one of our other division winners. And this time we are looking at Grace, who came out on top of Division 2, who decided to bring mono white aggro this week, saying that her favorite deck / card from this season of VML had been the Sultai midrange pile that kind of like overperformed for her, but her favorite for her own was mono white. And so no surprise that you take your favorite deck into battle here in the elimination rounds. And it looks like a pretty, again, a pretty stock list. See Sungold, Sentinels, Hopeful Initiate. See 4 of Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. So really ready for those Izzet matchups, I suppose.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, and as somebody who played against a lot of Thalia, Guardian of Thrabens, they're a house against any deck that is trying to play even a slightly controlling matchup. Really just a very important part of a reprint that kind of needed to happen for the current standard format, I believe. So a great inclusion, and not to be overshined by things like the Elite Spellbinder and like the Redain that are extra taxing spells, which Grace points out for her side as well, saying that being able to tax a lot of the bigger non-creature spells that are happening on her opponent's side is going to be a big part of what is going to give her a road to victory.
Yeah, and we can see like she's really she's got all 4 Brûla Cathar and 4 Skyclave apparitions, all just stuffed into the sideboard. Just being like, you know what? If I'm wrong, if my opponent ends up playing mono green or something, then I'll call you. Game 1 might be tough, but I got you in games 2 and 3. So I really like that all in like metagame, and she says that her success has been correctly metagaming versus her opponent so far this season in key rounds. And also the number one thing that I think any of us here can do to find success in Magic is listening to Arya. So
does pay to listen to Arya. And it's worth mentioning that Grace mentions that she's done a good job of metagaming against her opponents. And you mentioned that she put a lot of cards in her sideboard hoping to play against a control deck. And Jana did, in fact, submit Izzet Epiphany this week. So it looks like Grace has yet again made a correct metagame decision for this game 1 at least. And maybe that'll be something that pays off for her.
Yeah, getting paid off in dividends. I like it. I like it. So good luck to Grace and Jana this week as they play against each other for another spot in the top 8. But let's check out the division leader we'll be watching tonight in Annabelious. Now, Annabelious is here with mono green aggro. And this is a pretty sweet list. Kazenda Mammoth had gotten kicked out, I think, for a minute of mono green aggro, but now it's back. Ascendant Pack Leader still in there, though, as newer cards, as well as Uvenwald Oddity. I see a couple of copies of that. A single Inscription of Abundance, all 4 Ranger class, but also 4 Blizzard Brawl. So just I see 2 Averbruck Caretaker in the sideboard, Cemetery Prowler also in the sideboard. Do you have any initial thoughts about this list as a whole?
I mean, again, this is looking pretty stock as well. A little bit of kind of a change to only running like 1 Inscription of Abundance. I think that it seems like Annabelious also made a good call about metagaming against her opponent as well, going for 4 Blizzard Brawl, losing a few of the inscriptions as well as losing some of the snakeskin veils. Uvenwald Oddity is something that I was kind of timid about when it first came out, but now every time I've seen it, I've been like, wow, this card is kind of insane. So going for something like that. And Ascendant Pack Leader is a new addition to the deck that I also just think is so amazing and has been a great inclusion into the mono green decks. But it'll be certainly an interesting match to watch, as I feel like every single match against a aggro deck versus aggro deck is always one of my favorite types of Magic to watch. So the mono white deck that Annabellious' opponent is playing is, of course, that very taxing sort of style. And hopefully for Annabellious, you will be not drawing any of those non-creature spells, so you won't have to worry about that additional tax. And if you're the mono white player, you're hoping to have your opponent only draw those Esca's Chariots and be stuck on 4 mana and not be able to pay for that extra little bit that Thalia is tacking onto it.
Yeah. That Uvenwald oddity, have you ever had one transformed against you?
Yes.
Because oof.
Yeah. It's a beating.
It is, as it says on the card, it is certainly a beast. So but let's get in now. Annabelious' opponent tonight will be Leina, who is on mono white. And like you said, a very creature heavy mono white to build around that Thalia Guardian of Thraben and 2 Gavany Dawn Guard, in the main deck. So you only see 3 non-creature spells in the main deck from Leina this week against this mono green deck. So looking forward to this showdown, mono green versus mono white. I would say the 2 most popular decks in our top 16 this week, as almost every matchup had at least one or the other, if not both.
Yeah, we were trying to show y'all a big variety of things, but at the end of the day, if everyone submits very similar decks, there's only so much variety we can offer you.
Yes, and it looks like mono green and mono white both starting off doing what they do, except mono green here missing a 3rd land drop. Doesn't feel so bad when you have Sculptor of Winter, but it doesn't feel that great either. So,
and it certainly doesn't feel great when your Sculptor of Winter also can't attack into Thalia, as Thalia is a 2/1 with first strike.
yes. So getting that werewolf pack leader down to hopefully gum up the battlefield a little bit here on Annabelious' side. And although not too heavy in spells, probably doesn't feel too great looking at double Ranger class and a Sika's Chariot on the side of Annabelious with that Thalia down. And speaking of taxes, here comes Elite Spellbinder to take a little looky-loo at Annabelious' hand. And
I feel like I personally would go for the Sculptor of Winter. I mean, if your opponent is already missing a land drop, just going for taxing the only card that Annabelious could technically cast on her next turn, should she not draw a land, it could just potentially be such a beating that I think it's worth kind of like going for one of the mopier cards on the off chance that Annabelious doesn't draw something that she can cast.
yeah, and
Or will allow her to cast.
looks like Leina taking a long thought about this, because with double Luminarch Aspirant in hand, that makes for a sweet turn 4, but could also just cast Elite Spellbinder again next turn, having a second one in hand. So this was, I believe, this is going to lead to big choices for both Leina and Annabelious. So Annabelious going to lose that. Asika's Chariot is going to cost 1 million mana now. And
approximately 1 million.
and we'll see. Yeah, Asika's Chariot costing 7. So still missing that 3rd land drop. I don't know that we're going to see a Chariot hit the battlefield unless one gets drawn at this point, along with a few more lands. We'll see a 3rd Spellbinder, the draw on Lena's side, but it looks like going to go the route of the Aspirants. So double Luminarch Aspirant coming down here. And who are they going to pump up is the question, I think. And it looks like going big on the first striker. Thalia.
Ooh.
But
I think it's interesting to see it not attack too. Because I think my concern in a matchup like this, I mean, it becomes less of a concern when you have 2 Luminarch Aspirants, but usually the way that the mono-white deck ends up losing this matchup is a lot of the green creatures just end up being so much bigger than all of your white creatures, and then you kind of just end up losing to the trample effects that come out of the green deck. So it's interesting to see not pushing towards Annabelious' life total very quickly. I maybe is just trying to do a little bit more setup and then just have like one big push, which I would respect. But it is interesting to see the extra power put onto this first striker and not committed towards trying to put the pain onto Annabelious.
Yeah, and it looks like drawing a land for turn, Lena's going to dispatch the 2nd Elite Spellbinder, take another look at the hand. Annabelle is probably trying to keep that snakeskin veil a secret no longer. Sculptor of Winters could have untapped to protect something here, but no need for that now, as Secret's out. And it looks like the Snakeskin
Ooh.
Veil will be what is taken here. So even allowing, being like, telling Annabelious, you know what, yeah, you can have Wall Oddity next turn. Yeah, you can cast that Ranger class if you want to. Going real wide here is Leina with this mono white deck, though. And Usher
Wow.
the Fallen getting in.
Yeah, likely to be able to boast this turn as well, though. Interesting that it would trade with any one of the creatures that Annabelious has on the field, but potentially maybe just not super worried about going for a trade like that.
Yeah, Thalia thinking about getting frisky here. Would have to put everything on Thalia in order to successfully block. So
Yeah, I think that is too good to pass up, and it looks like Leina is going to end up agreeing this time as well. Just going to throw this wolf under the Usher of the Fallen. Usher will be able to boast to create a 1/1, but then getting in for a total of 8 damage between that Elite Spellbinder and the Thalia. And now at 7 life, the attackers in the air buffed by the Luminarch Aspirants are more than enough to end this game. And that's exactly what I was saying. The mono green deck has just enough non-creature spells that if you're seeing the part of your deck that isn't creatures, you can be so kind of scuffed up by the taxing effects that the mono white deck is playing. And that was just an unfortunate half of the deck to be seen by Annabelious.
yeah, and it looks like Annabelious here not really interested in those Snakeskin Veils anymore, as well as the Wall Oddities, and not as many Ranger classes. Going to switch things up a little bit, bringing in a couple of removal spells, and Leina gonna head to her sideboard, and it looks like a lot coming in here. Got some portable holes. There's Fateful Absence, Intrepid Adversary, Valor Stance coming in. It's all coming in.
Ooh. I mean, you got to make sure that, again, the way that the white deck ends up losing a lot of the time to this green deck is the green deck simply has these monstrous big creatures that you simply can't deal with. So I love going for a way to make sure that you're taking care of some of those, getting rid of some of the cheaper creatures that are simply outclassed by a lot of the green creatures. So making sure that those Hopeful Initiates and those Usher the Fallens that can't attack into the extremely well-costed mono green creatures, you just don't end up having to worry about those running into each other if they're not in your deck.
Yeah, and so it looks like going for that efficient build and looking at not a great 7. That's going to get shipped back right away from Annabelious' side. Leina happy with her 7 though, so gonna keep that. And Annabelious looking at this 6, taking a long look at it. I don't think you can ship this one back.
Yeah, it's hard because, again, you're running into a problem of 3 out of the 5 spells in your hand are non-creature spells, which is just not really where you want to be based on how that last game went, especially. I mean, Annabelious doesn't know that Leina doesn't have that type of those types of cards in her opening hand, but going for something that's just a little more safe is going to end up being the play here for Annabelious, and we'll just hope for Annabelious' sake that we don't run into a ton of problems based on having to make that multi-5.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if there was a hand of 5 that I wanted to keep, it would probably be something along like that: 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop. So it doesn't look too bad here. And Devouring Tendrils, the draw for turn. So a little bit of removal, being able to kind of take care of something that comes into play.
Yeah, nicely drawing up that land that's allowing to cast this Old Growth Troll for Annabelious. And now whatever else is kind of drawn is going to be either something that we can cast or going to be something that we can just forego to activate the Ranger class. Unfortunately, that Cathar is going to get rid of our Old Growth Troll, but it's not the worst, as we do have these Devouring Tendrils to take care of it.
I'll say that Tajuru Blightblade, excuse me, kind of gums up the battlefield pretty good here. Like, you don't really want to trade your 2/2, their 3/2 for a 1/1, like 1 drop. That feels so bad. So looks like it's gonna Sentinel on blocking duty instead.
Yeah, I like going for this block because if we get into a position where that creature gets to attack too many more times and get any bigger with this ranger class in play, it's just going to get out of hand. And knowing that you have the Valorous stance in hand and knowing that you have just simply more cards in hand as well than your opponent, simply realizing that we'll be in a position where we can handle whatever Annabelious is going to draw, or at least hoping that you're going to be in a position to handle whatever Annabelious draws, is just worth more equity than worrying about some things getting bigger than some other things.
Yeah, I mean, and it looks like Annabelious is like just getting in there. It's just saying, you know what? I'm attacking. I'm attacking with everything. The 1/1 Death Toucher, not on blocking duty anymore. Like knowing that low on cards, low on resources, having to get in here. That's pretty bold, and I like that. But we'll see the Valorous stance taking care of that old growth troll being put on that snow-covered forest. Blightblade still getting in for 2, and Ranger class up to level 3. So getting a look at the top card and maybe being able to cast it if it's a creature. That's a pretty valuable way to undo a mulligan.
It can be, but I don't know. I would love if somebody would tell me a time where they've activated the ranger class and actually seen a creature, because it hasn't happened for me and it hasn't happened to most of the people I know, and Annabelious here is going to be a show for that as well. The mono green deck just weirdly plays a lot of non-creature spells that don't actually equate to this ranger class allowing to get any creatures. Hopefully there will be one on top of the deck after this Esca's Chariot, but instead it is just a basic forest.
Yeah, and we'll see Chariot coming on down. Now, Annabelle is still at a fairly healthy 19 life, with some sizable blockers now on the battlefield. These elite spellbinders are just vanilla 3/1 flyers for 3. With no cards in hand on Annabelious' side, but I don't think that Leina minds that too much.
No, and you certainly shouldn't mind it, especially when you have something like these Luminarch Aspirates in play. Knowing that the mono green deck is not playing a ton of things to stop your flyers, just being able to have a way to pump up your flyers that are going to be undisputed in the air has got to make you feel like you're in a pretty good spot. And again, I just said it, I'll say it again. Ranger class never shows you a creature spell. Every single time, I don't think I've ever been lucky enough to see one. Annabelious is not being lucky enough to see a creature spell, and that has to be exactly what she is hoping for, and it's just heartbreaking to not get there.
Yeah, and it looks like activating Faceless Haven and the Chariot this turn. Look at her just really get in. Yeah, and that is the plan. So it looks like pumping up the Chariot to a 5/5, making a kitty token. Going to have that troll token, but it's gonna come in tapped. So
I have to believe that Annabelious just kind of feels priced into making this play, deciding that now that Leina doesn't have as many cards in hand, just like hoping that on the off chance on one of these turns that I do start to see creature spells off of this ranger class, that I can just go runner and just outvalue this white deck. And the best way that I'm also going to be able to outvalue the white deck is if the white deck is at a low life total. And that's the best way to fight back against these, again, undisputed 3/1 flyers. And so I like going for that aggressive play. It maybe doesn't seem initially very intuitive, but I think it is Annabelious playing to her outs in the best way possible.
Yeah, we'll see Leina drawing another land for turn. Now, Leina at 11 actually had a lower life total than Annabelious here. And though no more Chariot on the side of Annabelious, there is no more Luminarch Aspirant to pump up the team on Leina's side either. So kind of stuck here with Leina in the air, though. That could be a deal breaker here. That 4/4 that would come into play off of the old growth troll enchantment would be a 4/4 with trample, though. That'd be a lot of damage on a swing back.
Leina has also got to be a little disappointed in the fact of seeing a bunch of lands. Probably almost as disappointed as Annabelious is, but at least Annabelious has that hope on the horizon of seeing a creature spell that can be cast off of the Ranger class, and it's happening. It's happening. Clip it. This is the first time that Ranger class has ever revealed a creature spell.
Oh, and insisted on tapping that Faceless Haven, but it had to happen. I think that they thought they might have had one more mana than they did.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and at least this old girl troll is in and ready to party as well. The trample certainly going to be an important part of this as well. And that Gold Sentinel forced into blocking it before it gets any bigger because of that activated Ranger class.
Wow. And I mean, and look at this here, like making some blocks, making some trades. You know, Annabelious definitely ahead on this board. This is a place, you know, Leina at 8 with just the 3/1 drawing Portable Hole, which is a good card, but is it going to be enough here to stabilize on a mulligan to 5? Annabelious looking like they're coming back into this one.
And it's so crazy to be also that the Ranger class has not been that impactful. Like, it's just been good draws and correct plays and using what little pressure Annabelious had from the cards that were kept in that 5 to convert that into a win. Very impressive and good discipline on those mulligans coming from Annabelious in that game.
Wow, yeah, we see pretty good now. We'll see at sideboards. Any changes? Nope, no changes.
Nope.
Feeling pretty good here. We see, you know, the Usher of the Fallen, the Thalias in the sideboard here on the side of Leina. Let's see if anything wants to change here. Keeping those Paladin classes in the sideboard. Portable Holes were moved in. Faithful Absence was moved in. And it looks like a couple changes. Maybe.
Yeah, only like 1 or 2 cards, it seems like. But it's hard to make a ton of changes against this type of deck. You just kind of... It really ultimately comes down to one, who is on the play in an aggro versus aggro matchup, and on top of that, exactly who is seeing what portions of their deck.
Yeah, we'll see Thalia better on the play here, coming down turn 2. I was going to say not as many spells in the hand of Annabelious this game as they drew Tendrils, so...
Yeah, land would have been certainly more ideal, and we see Annabelious also being a little bit distressed over this Faceless Haven as the other land available in hand, that colorless source not going to allow to cast those 2 old girl trolls that are sitting in hand.
Yeah, we'll see. Although we will see on Lena's side having a Valorous Stance in hand, so Thalia taxing their own Valorous Stance, so at least it goes both ways, right?
At least it goes both ways. Our words to live by, but that Brutal Cathar going to start off by taking care of that 1/1, and kind of a heads up play by not going for a... I mean, at least getting rid of that Death Toucher is going to be big for Leina, but that second Brutal Cathar, even more brutal than the first, as it takes out one of those old girl trolls. And hopefully this next old girl troll will be able to stick on the board for a second, but we know that might not be the case, as we can see that Valorous Stance in hand.
Yes. Being able to have an answer, and have your answers be all creatures, so you're attacking the entire time. That's pretty brutal in itself. Annabelious at 14 life already. Leina at a perfect 20 still. 5 spells in hand. No 4th land, but perhaps she won't need it.
Perhaps she won't. Lots of cards in hand, lots of decisions to be made. This is one of those situations where I feel like I, as the mono white player, would be just like, I'm committing this Valorous Stance, I'm attacking with my creatures, but there could be a situation where Leina's probably just played more of this deck, going for making these Brutal Cathars into the flip side and casting the Valorous Stance on Annabelious' turn is probably something that Leina has learned from playing this matchup more than I, and hopefully is something that will pay off for her as a result.
Yeah, we'll see what Annabelious is choosing to do here. Had kept up Devouring Tendrils and Inscription. Tendrils is a sorcery, so if she had wanted to cast that, now would have been the time. So Inscription still up, passing on to Leina. Will Leina cast this Valorous Stance?
Yeah, I mean, I would, especially now that 2 of my creatures have First Strike and can attack through the Werewolf pack leader. I mean, Annabelious does have this Inscription of Abundance, but it just seems like we were doing a good job of applying pressure at first, and now I would be in the mindset of continuing to apply that pressure, and I would feel bad about not having cast a card on the last 2 turns. But Leina is in a position of just trying to be extremely surgical about this process, which I can imagine and admire as well.
Yeah, and it looks like just a pass of the turn. So, and I suppose if Leina had cast it last turn and Annabelious had an answer, that it would have gone from night to day, and those 3/3s become 2/2s once again. Ascended Pack Leader going to come down here, leaving up 5 mana. And pass back of the turn. And still no 4th land on the side of Leina, though.
Ooh.
Really stocking up on spells. No lands to speak of, though.
Yeah, no lands to speak of, and that is definitely not where you want to be as Annabelious is continuing to commit things to the board and hold up mana that is definitely putting Leina into a kind of frightened position. The unfortunate part of this as well, I mean, the Brutal Cathars, the draw for the turn, is actually quite huge, as we can play it and have it immediately take oh, it would come in as the flip side actually too. Ooh. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. It is hard to try and go for something like that too when you've held this Valorous Stance and are kind of in the mindset of using the Valorous Stance to get rid of something like the Old Growth Troll. But you could also just use the Brutal Cathar to get rid of one of these other creatures as well.
Yeah, it looks like moving to attacks, having drawn another land. So being able to cast both the Inscription of Abundance and Devouring Tendrils in the same turn if need be. Is that enough to kick the taxed abundance? It would be. So Inscription of Abundance
more than enough.
Could be cast, yeah, with 1 left over, I believe. So, but deciding just to kind of, it's a stare down here as Leina
It really is.
does draw their 4th land. So got there.
Yeah, finally here, and now we'll see exactly what the decision is going to be. This Thalia also kind of putting a little bit of a damper in the plans of what Leina would like to do, but at least being able to cast this Portable Hole and still cast something like this Sungold Sentinel is keeping us in a pretty good position regardless.
Yeah, so Portable Hole going to eat that pack leader, and Sungold Sentinel coming down. And now that Leina is tapped out, Annabelious feels like this is the time. I got to do it. Inscription of Abundance, cast it with Overload. Going to... There we go. Okay, going to put some counters on Old Growth Troll, gain a little bit of life, and fight that Old Growth Troll on one of the Moonrage Brutes there, the one that has the other Old Growth Troll under it. And Sungold Sentinel now safe to come down. Gonna eat that Inscription, and I can't imagine anything else this turn. Yes, and Brutal Cathar going to transform again. Well, transform back to daytime. So now with 2 creatures under it, but Devouring Tendrils going to attempt to take care of that Brutal Cathar is going to be successful. So Blight Blade and Old Growth Troll number 2 back on the menu.
Yeah, back on the menu, back on the board, and back to making it a little bit difficult for Leina to try and push through some damage. The mana on Leina's side of the board still making it a little tricky to do anything. Like, at this point, you would ideally like to be double spelling, but this Thalia making a lot of those non-creature spells a little bit more expensive is definitely making it harder to do that double spelling that I'm sure she would like to be doing as a result. So definitely in a little bit of an interesting situation here, but at least having this other Brutal Cathar to hopefully get some equity back onto this board, as well as follow it up. Well, we can't really follow it up with anything, unfortunately, as you want to be casting the Intrepid Adversary for its kicker cost, and we can't really commit this other Thalia.
Yes, and so Thalia kind of a dead card in hand right now. But what Leina has going is that Annabelious is empty-handed right now. So there's nothing to know. There's nothing to figure out. What you see is what you get. And 4 spells in hand still on the side of Leina with a Faceless Haven to face off against Annabelious' Faceless Haven. Old Growth Troll still getting in the red zone. Leina down to 12. Annabelious still at 19. And it is nighttime again. And that is the 4th Brutal Cathar being drawn here. So
yeah,
pretty good card. Brutal Cathar been the 3rd Brutal Cathar, right? No, 4th.
Fourth. I think it's the 4th.
No, you are correct. That is the 4th Brutal Cathar. My goodness.
I mean, you put them in your deck to see them.
Oh, Hogpog. Arya Karamchandani, thank you so much for the raid. It's good at timing too. We are in the middle of a very exciting game 3 here between Annabelious and Leina, mono green versus mono white. And it's been both sides have been sweating, I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm sweating and I'm just watching, so.
A very well navigated, very intricate game between these two players, battling it out, heading into top 8. We have not yet covered Arya's match for this evening, so if you are in that raid party, make sure you hang out. Moonrage Brute getting in the 3/3 first striker. So Annabelle is dropping down to 16. It was still at a very healthy life total. I mean, I imagine that both mono green and mono white really not accustomed to going to turn, 10 and 11 of Magic games, but here we are. Moonrage Brute coming down as a 3/3, so not Brutal Cathar, not going to take anything here. Intrepid Adversary is a 3/1, and that's it. 3/1 lifelinker. Not going to hold that one.
That was an exciting turn. Apollo also got very excited.
Yeah.
Started doing a big ol' bark.
Yes, because Apollo felt it going from nighttime to daytime again, transforming both of those Brutal Cathars that they will both eat a card here. Faceless Haven, though, gonna try to get in, and it looks like the Intrepid Adversary going to jump right in front. So Leina back up to 15, gonna eat that Faceless Haven, and back to nighttime we go. Moonranger Brutes, 3/3 first strikers here, looking pretty good against a board of a 2/1 and a 2/2. Elite Spellbinder going to come down. Annabelious just revealing a lonely snow-covered forest in hand. So the light's green, and Leina is going to go, go, go. Sun Gold Sentinel, Thalia, and both Moonrange Brutes into the red zone here. And can't activate the Sun Gold Sentinel, so would not be able to, does not have Coven, so not able to protect it, but that's okay. Happy to take the trade. Annabelious going to take 8 here, dropping down to 8, and another forest will be the draw for turn, and it looks like that is going to do it here. As Annabelious taps out, says that is enough. And Leina is going to take this match down with mono white 2-1 over Annabelious. Good games to both of our competitors. Very well played. And I mean, top 16 is nothing to sneeze at, especially in this league. There is some real healthy competition, and top 16 does get a nice piece of the prize pool. You got some gems, get some cash. It's pretty sweet, right?
It is in fact pretty sweet, and it's only going to get sweeter here for the players making it into our top 8. I believe we're going to go to a short little break, watch some interviews if you want to hang out, and get back into some more action and figure out more of who we're taking to our top 8 next week after these quick interviews.
Yay! Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Who, What, Werewolf. I once again am your hostess of howls, Nicole Callahan, joined here tonight by the phenomenal Emmaskyeward. Emma, how are you doing tonight?
I'm great. I'm excited to be here. And I should just say I love the name of this segment. That's so good. Who, what, werewolf?
Who, what, werewolf? Because we are Team Werewolf. Like, I was actually on Team Werewolf this season.
Okay. I was Team Vampire, but it's all right.
Oh, you were?
I was.
Do I have this wrong?
It's okay. I will be an honorary werewolf tonight. You know what? It was a hard decision going in. So honestly, I could have picked either one.
Well, we've recruited you. You are now a werewolf because we need the help. The vampires edged out the werewolves 119 to 114 this season. Although I will say, of the 8 division leaders, 4 were werewolves and 4 were vampires. So, you know, it was neck and neck. You know, the vampires were able to claw their way to the... I don't know.
Right? I don't know. It's a little... There's no good metaphor.
But yes, so I mean, I imagine you're doing great because you went 6-1 during the round robin play with a super impressive record. And here you are, top 16. You buy right into the top 16, buy right into the money. How are you feeling?
I'm really excited. It was a great season for me up until this point. Although I will say that last season I did exactly the same thing. I went 7-0 into the playoffs and lost my round of 16. So I'm hoping I don't do a repeat, but fingers crossed that this time it'll be a little bit better for me.
Well, this is your 3rd season, so I hear 3rd time's the charm. And also, you know, because I did have the pleasure of covering your week 7 matchup, that close matchup that you got edged out on, so you didn't go into the playoffs with the, you know, immaculate record. So you just got the loss out of the way in the regular season. And now that you're in elimination rounds, you know, it's not that pressure of being like, oh, I'm undefeated, I can't lose, you know? So you got that out of the way. You got your loss out of the way. And it's all winning from here, I hope. And
that's what I'm hoping for, too.
Now, winning with what is the question? Now, you seem to have bounced between mono white and mono green all season. Now, do you have a favor of the two? Is there one that you prefer over the other? I see you did register mono green for this week. So
yeah, I absolutely love playing green and Magic. If there's a meta deck, typically that is a green deck or runs green as a secondary color, and I find it to be competitive and a decent choice, there's a very likely chance I'm going to play it. That being said, if green is not the right pick, I'm going to probably default to the next best aggro list in the format that I think is a good matchup. So mono white was in there for me as a really strong comfort pick that I felt would be good into the opponents I was playing those weeks. But I did pick mono green into the final week. I think it has just a better edge overall. I really wasn't sure who I was going to be playing or what they might have picked. I know that both possible opponents had played several different decks over the course of the season. So I wanted to go with the deck that had overall a better percent chance, I think, of winning.
Yes, and you are playing mono green this week against Alsa White, who's playing Dimir Control. And you both are VML vets at this point. So I'm sure that is going to be quite a match. Kind of actually upset.
I'm really excited.
Not one of our features this week, but that's all right because that means I got to interview you instead. That's all. So
exactly.
Now that we have you back again, which is phenomenal for your 3rd time back, what does the VML like do for you? What does the VML mean to you? What's your favorite part of the VML? Like, what have you enjoyed the most about being here?
I mean, obviously I keep coming back, so that speaks measures to the way that the tournament is run and the organizers. I think that just the smoothness with which every season goes is a big testament to the people in charge who are making this happen and everyone behind the scenes like yourself who is doing extra content. So I think honestly the people who make up the structure of the VML is why I keep coming back over and over. I've literally never had a complaint about the system or the setup, so that makes me very happy.
Oh, that's very sweet. You flatter me. And I like that.
It's true.
I am glad if I had to pick anybody to be an honorary werewolf, I was glad it was you, Emma.
Oh, good.
And now to finalize your introduction into the werewolf pack, as it were, I need you to do me a big favor here. can you give me your best werewolf howl?
Oh boy. Okay. All right. My cat isn't gonna be happy about this. Okay, she's not in the room. She's gone. There's no dogs here. Okay, it's all good. Here we go. It's gonna be a little howl. Ow. It's not very intimidating, but I'm like a baby werewolf, so it's all right.
You are an adorable werewolf, a fantastic person, and an exceptional Magic player. And Emma, it has been an absolute pleasure having you here tonight. And best of luck to you the rest of the way in the playoffs.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye-bye. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Interview with the Vampire. I once again am your Mistress of Midnight, Nicole Callahan, joined here tonight by the fabulous TheMightyLinguine. How are you doing tonight?
Hello. I'm doing great. I have not talked to you at all this evening. This is exciting.
Not at all. We haven't actually talked like ever. We're not friends. Or...
No, we never hang out. Yeah, at least not this current version of you.
Oh, you haven't seen me with my fangs before, right?
No, sorry, I haven't.
It's just I'm all done up. I was at a wedding, so.
I do like that you have a fancy title, but for some reason don't change your real name.
Should I have a cool vampire name?
Yeah, you're not really hiding your identity very well.
Ooh, oh shoot! I cat's out of the bag, everyone. Surprise!
Oh, it's a mask? What?
No, you know, for all intents and purposes, we're gonna go with I am Team Vampire. Team Vampire, because Team Vampire was victorious this season in the VML, taking down the werewolves. The regular season, you know, behind us, our round robin, we have Vampires won 119 to the Werewolves 114. So I'm counting that as a victory for the Vampires here. And you being no stranger to victory, having taken down the VML in its entirety twice already. Now you're back here, top 16. How does it feel?
Pretty good, except I haven't played Magic in like a month, so a little rusty.
Is it like one of those things where you like get to like Tuesday and you're like, shoot, I should schedule my VML match?
Is it untap, upkeep, draw? Is that the right order?
Listen, it's great because Arena does that for you, so that's half the work.
When you don't want it to.
There's a lot of times when you're like, oh no, I said a stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Classic.
It's good to have you back. Now at 6-1, and a very impressive record, earning you the bye right into the top 16, or right into the money, but doing it in a very unique way. You had a lot of unconventional deck submissions this season. So to still like kind of do what you wanted, how you felt, you know, kind of just roll with the punches, and to still end up at the top of your division, division number 4, 6-1, impressive record, a game win percentage of 81.2. Like, how does it feel to do it and to do it your way?
Wait, I didn't realize that coming on this segment would involve getting insulted. What do you mean my decks are unconventional? Are you saying
unorthodox?
That green-white... yes, unorthodox. Are you saying that green-white Scoot Swarm was not peak meta in week 1?
Listen, Scoot Swarm is an A+ Magic card in my book. It's just not in very many Izzet decks or mono white decks nowadays. So
or in the mono green decks, either, to be fair.
Yes. Yeah, not quite, but I know Scoot Swarm has been a favorite of yours. So really, like, how does it feel to kind of just, you know, register what you love and then win with what you love? Like, that's got to feel real good.
It feels like legitimately great. Like, I do remember week 1. I remember it was like Sunday evening. I was like, gosh, shoot, I forgot to submit for VML this week, as everyone does forget on Sunday evening. And so I do the classic way I solve all my problems is I go to www.mtggoldfish.com, not a sponsor yet, and I search standard decks. And usually what I do is when I see something that looks fun, I play with it on the ladder and then tell myself that that's a bad idea, and then I go and register a real deck. However, this season I was feeling, I don't know, I was just feeling like, let's just have some fun. And so I found, in like 10 seconds, I found this green-white Scoot Swarm deck, submitted it, was super excited. I actually vividly remember testing the matchup like an hour before the match with teammate Haiyue. Haiyue destroyed me every game. Like, not just every match, like every game. My deck, so you don't have to go back and look, is like all CMC 4 or greater.
Was that a please don't go back and look, or?
Yeah, go back and look. It's a great deck. And they were all non-creature spells except for Scoot Swarm, and my opponent had like main deck Redains. And so I just literally could not win through that card. It was embarrassing, and somehow I won, and I was like, what? Yeah, so yeah, it feels really good to take the division with my spice. Spice is nice.
That is the queen of spice. I love it. I love it. Just go to Goldfish, scroll down a little bit, get to like the things where it's like telling you the meta is like 0.2%.
Wait, time out. I would like to clarify.
Okay.
I did not have to scroll very far.
Okay.
When I find these deck lists, they're often from Moto deck list dumps that day.
Ooh.
Okay, just you're underselling how deep I have to go.
Okay. Listen, I'm on Team Scoot Swarm too, so I think that's great. I think that's fabulous. I'm glad that being able to dodge the Redains and get to the top. Like, I mean, you got to be a good pilot. You got to give yourself some credit here.
I try.
So would you say that was your favorite deck this season?
I don't know. I think it was a start of a journey. I think if I had lost that week, I imagine my deck submissions and life choices would have been very different and probably a lot less fun. So it was really the start of something new. It was just a really good, like, positive feedback. It's like, oh wow, I can play something silly, and win. And that's like all my other seasons. I've always played meta decks, so this was like a really new avenue and adventure for me. So I don't know if it's my favorite, but I know that it started it all. I think my favorite deck is probably the Black-Red Vampires deck that I have been playing the last couple weeks, and have also registered for the top 16. Ooh, proudly.
Yay.
Not feeling bad about it at all. And that deck isn't necessarily like spicy, but it is really fun to play. And it's tuned exactly to beat Epiphany. So whether or not it can beat anything else is a untested theory at the moment. So you'll have to wait and find out, I guess.
Yes, and check out the results at VMLMTG.com on Sunday. Hopefully, we'll have those up, and hopefully, we'll see your name in lights again once again in top 8 next week. MightyLinguine, thank you so much for your time. Why don't you tell us where we can find you here on the interwebs outside of VML?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at MightyLinguine. You can find me on twitch.tv/TheMightyLinguine. And you can find me occasionally casting the VML when no one else is available.
I said I had a wedding to go to. What can I say? Well, thank you so much for your time, and enjoy the rest of the Eternal Night. Good luck to you in top 16.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the VML Top 16, week number 9. We're really getting back into it. Cannot wait to put a few more players into our top 8. If you are just joining us, we are the VML. We're a 10-week-long Magic the Gathering Arena League, showcasing the talents of amazing people within the Magic community of marginalized genders. We have 64 players. We divided those players into 8 divisions, divvied them all up, played round robin for 7 weeks, cut to a playoff for the top 24. That was last week. And this week is the top 16. We are celebrating our division winners this week. It's anybody who came in the top of the division get a bye through the top 24 into the top 16. And that top 16 also got right into the prize pool. So a big shout out to our sponsors, NRG Series, Channel Fireball, and of course, Wizards of the Coast for making this season possible. Thank you all so very much for your love and support. I'm Nicole Callahan, also known as Lady of the Crease, joined here by the fantastic Beky Bell. Beky, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. We've sent 2 people into the top 8 so far, and I'm ready to send 2 more. And we just got raided by Arya. So what do you think? Should we play Arya's match next?
I think we could do that. I think we can sway it. We're in charge here, right? We're not in charge.
Yeah, of course.
Phoebe's in charge. So
Yeah, we just
Phoebe,
pretend that
please.
we're in charge, but it's really Phoebe.
So before we do check out Arya's match, though, we are going to take a look at another one of our division leaders who got a bye through here to the top 16 in Mel Woods. Very impressive first season that Mel Woods has been here in the VML, and they just took it right to the top 16. They said, you know what? I'm going to do this. So they took down Division 7 for Team Vampire. And here they are with Mono White Aggro. See, we weren't joking. A lot of Mono White Aggro and a lot of Mono Green Aggro this week. Not a lot of people doing the Izzet thing, but Mono White seems to have been a pretty good choice. Game plan being curve out and smash before their opponent draws a Cinderclasm, which I think is a fabulous game plan to have.
Especially when you're playing do my eyes deceive me? Is that Battlefield Raptor?
I do believe it is. Your eyes do not deceive you. I was a stand for Battlefield Raptor for a while in Mono White, and eventually had to give up the ghost, but I'm glad to see Battlefield Raptor still doing his thing. This is a very, very low curve deck.
I like it.
I like it too. I see a Mole of the Skyclaves in there, which has found its way to a couple of these mono white decks. But what I absolutely love is the Legion Angel package in these mono white decks to give it a little more of that late game play. So when your entire board gets Cinderclasm, you go, oh, well, at least I have some 4/3 flyers to fall back on.
And I mean, I don't know. I'm just a big fan of Battlefield Raptor. I personally wasn't playing a ton of it. I had some people that I played a lot of matches with convince me that it just wasn't worth playing. But then I get excited every time. Like, I fought to have something in a deck and eventually gave it up because some people that I really trusted told me otherwise. And then I get to see somebody else do really well with it. Always makes me happy. And it goes to show that you really should just be playing whatever kind of suits your play style and whatever you're going to feel the most comfortable and the best about playing in your deck. And Mel Woods got rewarded for doing that a lot. And so beautiful to see that be what they've brought into this top 16.
Yes, and I love to see that they say they've been playing with confidence, pushing aggressively when there's openings, anticipating sweepers. So playing smart and playing great and recognizing, hey, you know what? It's a lot of bit of skill, but there's a little bit of luck in there too. So I like that. I love Mel. They're great. So good luck to Mel. Hopefully you do well here in this round of 16. We will find out this coming Sunday who is in our top 8. That will most likely be announced on Monday. But we do get to find out half of the top 8 tonight as we head into our next feature match with Arya, Karamchandani, fellow caster here at the VML, member of Arclight Gaming, great all-around Magic player and person, and she has also chosen to bring Mono White Aggro a little bit different here. We got some hopeful initiates in that 1-drop slot, no Battlefield Raptors to be seen. But and it's funny because she says her favorite deck / card from the VML this season she said she's a big fan of iterations of the Galvanic Persuasion, but I feel like this is just the exact opposite.
Yeah, I mean, just because you really like something doesn't mean you think it's the correct metagame call. And we don't see Arya giving herself the credit for it here, but we've seen it in a lot of other people's slides that they trust in Arya's decision making and metagaming calls. And Arya probably really likes Galvanic Iteration, but it's one thing to like a card and it's another thing to think that it's a good or something else is just a better metagame decision. And it looks like Arya just decided Mono White was the better metagame decision and what she brought going into this top 16.
No, I absolutely love it. She's a very smart player, and I like to see where her head is at. So picking solid decks, and she's very humble in saying playing decently. So I suppose her decently would be my, playing out of my head, but that's
to each their own,
right? Hey, you know what? I like playing my mono white aggro, but one of us may play it a little bit better. That's all. So, but I like, again, here we see a Legion Angel package. We see, like some number of Skyclave in the main and some in the side. Two Brutal Cathar in the main, two in the side. Kind of hedging a little bit here and
Mhm.
there. Not all in on one or the other, but a really solid mono white aggro list from Arya. And I am ready to get into match number 3 here versus Sarah England, who is on mono green. Yes, this is another mono white versus mono green matchup. We saw the last matchup, Leina on mono white, taking down Annabelious on mono green, 2-1. And we're about to head in here. We've got from the side of Arya, we see a quick keep and a hopeful initiate. So getting on the battlefield right away. And looks like a pretty solid hand to
Certainly a
me.
pretty solid hand, and it just got better in the form of drawing a 2-drop creature that will be able to attack and train this hopeful initiate to be a little bit stronger on the next turn.
Yeah, and with 2 different removal spells to pick from and a flyer, which we saw was a weakness of mono green earlier in the evening, that
Mhm.
2/2 Sculptor of Winter probably not long for this world.
And certainly not long. Put it in the hole and take it off of the battlefield. Have this Sun Gold Sentinel go attacking and train up this hopeful initiate. Follow it up by this Thalia Guardian of Thraben. Good ordering of those spells, being able to cast that portable hole for a little bit cheaper before making all other non-creature spells cost a little bit more on that wallet.
Yes, and so having a portable hole sounds very convenient too. So
Yeah. I mean, big fan of being able to use a spell like that, have certain items that are a little bit more impactful. I guess they're good in Magic too, but they're certainly good in Dungeons and Dragons as well.
So will Sarah be pressured into blocking here? And it looks like the answer is yes. Willing to trade with that Sun Gold Sentinel as Redain comes down. So this will stop any potential Esseka's chariots at this point. And
I mean, Thalia was already stopping those, but
yes.
Redain is going to make sure that we're even further away from being able to cast any of that sort of spell, and a little bit more expensive, but still able to come down for 3 mana is that Ranger class.
Yeah, and looks like Faceless Haven feeling froggy here too. Just a 2/2 Wolf to play defense on Sarah's side. So not even 2/1 first striking Thalia going to be held back by this as a large attack. This is an attack for 12. So Sarah definitely pricing the blocking here, but saying, you know what? Let's just move on to the next. So Arya going to take down a game 1 very quickly and very convincingly, and is now going to improve the sideboard with the sideboard here, bringing in some more Skyclave apparitions, some Brutal Cathars, extra portable holes. So all that great removal we saw in game 1, we're gonna double it here. Sun Gold Sentinel gonna get a shave, as is the Hopeful Initiate.
Yeah, we're kind of seeing, I mean, we just watched this exact same matchup, so we're going to be hearing me say a lot of the same things here in just a sec. Going lower on those cheaper creatures that are not going to scale as well into the big green creatures from the mono green deck, and just hoping to get a little more bang for your buck off of each of these mono white creatures, and then some removal for some of those bigger pesky green creatures.
You'll see. So Sarah on the play here, mulliganing to 6, playing Chijuru Blight Blade to start things off. And Arya keeping 4 lands, 3 spells, but drawing a Thalia here. It's a pretty solid hand, and you definitely don't want to miss your land drops when you have a Legion Angel package going on. Thalia going to come down onto the battlefield. A pretty good answer for Blight Blade with that first strike.
Oh, yeah.
From Thalia.
Good answer for the Blightblade, making it a little bit harder to play some of these spells coming out of the mono green deck, as we saw in our last match. And another nice follow-up in Adeline Resplendent Cathar. Going to be able to help bring some more creatures to the field, as well as having a pretty big butt there to do some blocking.
Yeah, Arya still at a very healthy 19 life. Sarah at 20. Playing Kazandu Valley tap this turn, pumping up that mammoth, and it looks like Blizzard Brawl to
Ooh.
answer that Adeline. So now at 6 power. But Arya, again, still at a very healthy 19. So probably quite willing to take 6 damage here, dropping down to 13. And land coming down. And the question is, double 2-drop or the 4-drop Angel? And it looks like it will be the Sentinel to eat that Blizzard Brawl real quick, and Luminarch Aspirant to follow up. Only 1 card left in Sarah England's hand at the moment. Thalia is now a 3/2 first striker. So needing those land drops in order to grow that Mammoth. Otherwise, Thalia going to keep Kazandu Mammoth at bay. An Old Growth Troll comes down, and it looks like Mammoth will be kept at bay. And Legion Angel, a 4/3 that will block forever because there are 2 more copies to follow up. Growing Thalia again, but staying back on the defensive. So Arya definitely needing to be a little patient here. Kazandu Mammoth going to grow to a 5/5. Arya is still at 13 life, though. So this 5 damage, happy to let it go through. No need to block there. Dropping down to 8 confidently. And Sarah emptying her hand here as well with 3/3 Werewolf Pack Leader. And although she doesn't know. Oh, sorry.
The Werewolf Pack Leader actually is kind of huge to be the last card in hand, as it's going to be a way for Sarah England to be able to generate more card advantage and be able to hopefully find an answer in their deck for these Legion Angels. As we saw again in the previous match that we just watched, flying a very important keyword against this mono green deck, especially since people started shaving those Ren and 7s.
Yeah, we see that Legion Angel package getting to work already. That 4/3 getting in the air, bringing Sarah down to 16. On Froghemoth, well, that's a draw. Froghemoth, a 4/4 trample haste out of the sideboard. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, they exile that many target cards from their opponent's graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on Froghemoth for each creature card exiled this way. And you gain 1 life for each non-creature card exiled this way. So here comes the team.
Yeah, I mean, and here comes the team, be able to draw some cards. Sure, this Thalia is big, but Sarah England has got multiple very big creatures as well. So at 8 life, this is quite a beating that is coming across the board here.
It certainly is. And Arya's got to stay alive here. So it's time to make some blocks.
This is a tough place to be in because you want to obviously make profitable blocks, but you also have to worry about your life total and just staying alive. 2 of these creatures have trample, and I imagine you're just trying to soak up as much of that damage as possible. So yeah, Thalia is the first easy block. That first strike going to make it really easy to be put in front of some things. Take a lot of this damage, throwing the Sun Gold Sentinel in front of the 3/3 Luminarch Aspirant, going to be thrown under the Kazandu Mammoth bus, and now we have to make 1 more block or it will be lethal. So taking the time to decide exactly where we want this Legion Angel to go, and it looks like so far we're deciding on the Ascendant Pack Leader, trying not to worry about that trample damage so much. This would put Arya to 3 so far. Oh, all right. Looks like we're going to decide differently. We'll still go to 3, but being able to block the bigger trample creature potentially going to be much more important for future turns.
Yes. So Thalia going to live here. But anything that jumped in front of any of those other creatures are going to die. So we've got Arya now left with a 5/4 Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, and a 4/3 Angel. And Sarah is left with a Mammoth, a pack, an Ascended Pack Leader, and a Tajuru Blightblade with the Old Growth Troll enchantment on a forest and 1 card in hand. Arya here with 4 cards in hand, a Faceless Haven that is able to be activated, and drew a Sun Gold Sentinel for turn. So is able to either play the Legion Angel and the Sun Gold Sentinel, or it can play the Sun Gold Sentinel and leave up a Legion Angel. And leave open being able to deploy the Sun Gold Sentinel and activate Faceless Haven as well this turn.
Yeah, this is also just like an interesting decision. I mean, Sarah is probably
Ooh, I like
hoping to have a way to just either Inscription of Abundance or something like a Blizzard Brawl and be able to get rid of one of these blocking creatures. But Arya feeling comfortable enough, despite being at 3 life, that even if one of these creatures is able to be cleared from the battlefield, simply being able to take one from potentially just the Death Toucher is good enough to stay in this game.
Yes, and just like the last round of attackers, anything that Thalia would be able to block will leave Thalia alive and the attacker dead. So Sarah will lose an attacker on another attack all if that is the path she decides to go down here again. But with Arya at 3 life, it's just so close.
Yeah. Every decision matters so much at this point. And
boy.
another Froghemoth, the draw. And we thought Trample was important before. It still matters here and likely means that Thalia is going to be the thing that has to go in front of that frog.
Yeah, and that 1/1 Chijuru Blight Blade is going to get through portable. Oh my.
And not scared at all after that portable hold draw means that we're just going across for, not even scared of it because we also just have the damage to end the game then and there for Arya. Karamchandani, congratulations on going to top 8 yet again.
Yes.
Congratulations. And also beautifully done from Sarah England there as well. I do also appreciate a very aggressive player, and you really putting the hurt on and just barely coming up short.
You gotta jam that space bar. Attack, 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 attack.
Yeah, we say getting into the red zone a lot, but I realize that if you're a player who's only played on MTG Arena, you maybe don't understand that reference. It's from MTGO. There's a big red bar at the center, and when you get into the red zone, you're attacking with your creatures and putting them onto the red bar at the center of the screen. It's something I think about a lot. I'm like, what if people don't know that that's what getting into the red zone means?
I feel like it's a big thing. It's a sporting reference too.
That's
you get
true,
in the red zone in like football, you're really close to scoring. You're kind of just like getting in there. And I feel like just gotta punch it through. Be like, make it sound like what it means.
Yeah. It also definitely, it sounds very intuitive. So that is not a huge concern either. But every once in a while, I think I'm just like, what if people who've only played MTG Arena don't know that getting into the red zone is an MTGO reference?
It's all right. We'll learn you.
We'll learn you. That's what we're here for. We're here to facilitate teaching all of the old boomer magic phrases.
Yes. And but us boomers, we got to take a quick break here. So
I'm just so tired after watching these intense MTGA matches,
Need
gotta
a little
take
water.
a short breather.
Gotta fix my dentures,
So yeah, my teeth just keep falling out and I keep wondering what's happening, and we got to fix it.
We will take care of that. And we will be back in just 1 minute. We'll catch you all on the other side. And we are back. I'm very excited, but I'm a little sad because this is going to be our last match of the evening here in the VML Top 16. I know. But it just promises for more action next week. And so far, we have 3 of our top 8 decided so far. Zabracus, Leina, and Arya all moving on to top 8. We've got one more match to watch tonight. And if you want to know more about all the top 8 action and who's going to make it and what decks everybody's playing, make sure you're following us on Twitter at VMLMTG. And you follow us right here on Twitch because, you're here watching us, so why not? And check us out on YouTube. If you missed any of the matches from earlier, the video will be up of this stream tomorrow. So you can get caught up, watch all your favorite VML players, and get caught up with all the action. Because why would you want to miss any of this? Can't miss it.
You don't.
You don't. That's pretty much just the answer. Is you don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it. You can't miss it. And speaking of not missing, let's check out the final slide for the division winner that we are not going to see play tonight, but we want to give big ups to. Oh my goodness.
This
Give
is
me something to work with, Caroline.
this is absolutely no. This is chef's kiss. I mean, I love it. I love it. I'm so happy actually because I mean I said it before. I love Go Blank. I think it is an amazing card. I'm so happy that it is a card that people can be playing in their decks. It makes me so happy, and it apparently makes TheMightyLinguine pretty happy too. And yeah, I agree. Go Blank, no further questions. I think we're done here. Go Blank is the best card to exist.
I have a real question though, actually.
All right,
Do you
all
know
right.
anybody that doesn't like Go? Because I actively like the card Go Blank as well. Like I think
Yeah.
it's a great card. I think it's wonderfully designed. I love it. But
no, but if anyone does have a problem with Go Blank, we can throw down next probably Thursday. I think is a good day for me. Let me know what time works for you, and I will fight to defend Go Blank's honor.
all right. And as apparently will TheMightyLinguine, who took down Division 4 in a very convincing fashion this season, and we'll be playing Rakdos Vampires. But I don't see any Go Blanks in
love
this
this
list,
deck.
Caroline.
But
So
yeah, but also it kind of makes sense. So TheMightyLinguine's opponent, Julie Izzet, did submit mono green. So going for something that plays well against that sort of deck, I think makes a lot of sense. And Go Blank, unfortunately, is not one of the better cards against a mono green deck. So while I'm a little sad that we answered Go Blank to every single one of these questions and there are no Go Blanks in the deck, I do understand. Well, wait, there are 3 Go Blanks in the deck.
wait, there are? Where?
There are 3 Go Blanks in the main board of TheMightyLinguine's
Oh, is
Rakdos
that them on
Vampires
the
deck.
middle right?
Yes,
Caroline, I'm sorry.
I believe. Regardless, I'm definitely looking at her list on MTG Goldfish. There are certainly 3 Go Blanks. We needn't worry. Go Blank is the answer always.
Always. Apparently, it is always the answer, no matter the question. Sometimes it's the question. I don't know. So I'm not sure. I'm drawing a blank, going blank here. And but we can't go blank with our final feature match of the evening, except in the losses column for our final division winner, GoGoFlowerRanger. Flower Ranger, they had an incredibly impressive season. Their blank is in the loss column as they are 7-0, undefeated, untouched, unscathed, right into the elimination rounds here, the top 16 of the VML. And they are bringing mono white aggro. And I'm telling you, we keep seeing this deck, but it's just, it seems to be the right choice.
I mean, considering that both of the mono white aggro decks that we've seen so far have converted into wins and going into the top 8, I'm inclined to agree with you in believing that it is just the right call and something that is working out very well for everyone who has submitted mono white thus far.
Yes, and you'll see though their answer up top. She says that her favorite deck or card from the season was the black-white mid-range that we saw an iteration of in Zabracus' hand in the very first match of the evening, enjoying playing Lawless and Blood on the Snow, Meat Hook Massacre, Edgar, things like that. So definitely a sort of an outlier this season where I feel like everybody's been bringing either Izzet or mono white or mono green, like period, end of story. Yeah, we've seen some werewolves decks. Yeah, we've seen some vampire decks, you know, and there's the occasional Orzhov snow deck, but to find success in such to go undefeated in the VML,
Yeah.
you know, 7 weeks, that's impressive. And to do it with, you know, the Orzhov mid-range decks, I applaud them very much for getting through, battling through. So excellent player, excellent pilot. Cannot wait to see this match.
Also,
Now,
just
oh,
a
go
joy to be around. I got to meet GoGoFlowerRanger at MTG Vegas. They're an absolute delight. and very excited to see how they've been so excited to be a part of the VML. Makes me very happy as somebody who's been a part of the VML for so long now.
Yes, you know what? If you are interested in anything that happens here at the VML, I believe it's exclamation point join in chat to give you some details. You could join our Discord, give you all the details for next season. We got to do a fun meetup. Is it join?
I don't think it's join. I just
Oh,
tried
no.
it. It didn't
It's
work. Hold
exclamation
up.
point VML. We can make it work.
We're
can
gonna
figure it out.
try.
What's the
I'm trying on
password?
the thing. It is, yeah, exclamation point VML. I think at least
wait,
gives a link
what?
to our, not
What?
even actually the correct link to our website.
No, but I mean, how about
VMLMTG.com will give you everything you need to know about connecting with us. So
There
if
you
you are
go.
interested in the VML, you're interested in being a part of our group of femme and non-binary and just all kind of genderqueer spaces and a part of magic, check us out, VMLMTG.com. Everything you would need to connect with us is on there.
Yes, and you know what I need right now? I need a little more top 16 VML action. So we are going to get into it as GoGoFlowerRanger takes on Skybilz. Now, Skybilz every week has pretty much been, mono white, mono green, a lot of aggressive decks, always aggressive. This week, for the first time this season, has submitted Izzet. So kind of blindsided Flower and the rest of us as we head into this matchup here, but not a mono green, mono white matchup this time around. It's a mono white versus Izzet Epiphany.
GoGoFlowerRanger has a vampire twink as the card sleeves, and I very much approve.
Ooh, as do I. And looks like going down to 6, getting rid of the Skyclave Apparition, not the best card in this matchup. We're going to start off with that Battlefield Raptor. There we go. Another Battlefield Raptor.
Battlefield Raptor
here.
Pog.
Yep.
Also, big fan of these 8-bit Snowlands. Chef's Kiss, very nice. Also, I feel like I have to mention that Skybilz also probably surprised herself in registering Izzet Epiphany as the deck is registered Izzet Epiphany? Question mark? Is it an Epiphany? We don't know yet, and we're hoping to find out.
Now, I can see on Skybilz's side many answers and a lot of late game too. Fading Hope and Crush the Week, playing 4 copies in the main deck of Crush the Week. That is commitment. And we'll see it. Just a second land. Going to foretell something here? Doesn't look like it. So Crush the Week and Epiphany, both going to stay in hand. Just going to pass and leave up that Fading Hope if need be. Faceless Haven, looking like the play here on Flower's side, having put down a Clarion Spirit and a Battlefield Raptor. Questioning whether to cast this Adeline now, though, with things like Jwari Disruption kind of looming. What do you think is the play here?
Yeah, this is a tough place to be in, and I guess it just kind of depends on what you're afraid of. If you're worried about, it's just a tough decision. This is a weird matchup for mono white where you like want to commit to. It's the same way with every aggro versus control matchup, basically, where you're wanting to go for being as aggressive as possible, but also just so worried of facing down a sweeper at any point. And checking right now, there are no copies of Cinderclasm in the main or sideboard for Skybilz. So something like Cinderclasm isn't the worry, but definitely worried about running into things like Fading Hope, running into things like Shadow Sculpt Smashing, the Crush the Weeks that you mentioned, and of course, as always, Divide by Zero is a big pain a lot of the time.
Yes, and we'll see. Hopeful Initiate is the draw here. So Flower would be able to double spell this turn, get a little value off of that Clarion Spirit, and is debating. But like you said, that Crush the Week is kind of just waiting there. It's that is definitely on the radar of Flower. Fateful Absence as well in the hand. Not really doing too much here. Skybilz still at a healthy 16 life. Flower at 20. And the other scary thing, Skybilz got 7 in the grip right now. So there are 7 cards. And it's just a question of what answers do you have for me? I hope they don't line up that well.
And that is going to continue to be the hope as we commit this Adeline to the board. Will be returned by this fading hope. So maybe a few less things to worry about, and certainly not having to worry about at least these spike field hazards in hand, as Battlefield Raptor, Clarion Spirit, and Hopeful Initiate all have 2 toughness. So spike field hazard not going to be a concern for GoGoFlowerRanger for quite some time.
Yes, and we'll see Battlefield Raptor and Clarion Spirit both getting in. So Sky will take 3, dropping down to 13, and it looks like Hopeful Initiate will follow up and we'll make a Spirit off of that Clarion Spirit. So a pretty healthy looking board from Flower's side, but it looks like it is time. Crush the Weak going to be cast here and just going to wipe everything out all into exile. And Prismari Command was also the draw there. That Spike Field Cave is going to come down as a land, and a land also the draw for turn on Flower's side. Going to thinking about replaying that Adeline, perhaps thinking about attacking with a Faceless Haven instead. One building the board, one not so much, but it looks like it will be Adeline in the end, leaving open that Fateful Absence. If anything, it does come down here. There are 3 Goldspan Dragons and 1 Leer in the list for Skybilz in the main deck here. And Expressive Iteration is going to be the draw and the play. Taking a look at the top 3, leaving up that Field of Ruin in case Faceless Haven wants to get frisky. And Crush the Weak going to the hand. That seems to be a good one to have. A land going into exile, so going to play that off of the iteration. And that looked like a pretty solid 3 cards to look at there.
So far, pretty solid, and it's certainly got to feel good when you have 6 cards in hand, and 2 of them are pretty good answers to a lot of the things that GoGoFlowerRanger's deck is playing, and your opponent only has 1 card to show for the current situation.
Yes. And honestly, it's not that good of a card either at the moment. And oh no, speaking of not that great, second copy of Adeline.
Yeah.
A lot worse than the first. And it looks like Flower thinking about activating this Faceless Haven. Might as well perhaps forcing Skybilz's hand here a little bit. Make her crack the Field of Ruin or make her answer it in some capacity. And it looks like Field of Ruin will answer it before it becomes creature. So going to tap down for a mana, get a Plains. Plains will come down. Island on the side of Skybilz. And the Adeline will still get in for a healthy 3 here, bringing Skybilz down to 10. Double Crush the Weak. That's a.
I mean, that would take care of the things that are on the board currently. Would it feel bad to spend that much mana for it? Potentially.
Yeah, it looks like a Shatter Skull Smashing would do almost the same for a little bit less. So Shatter Skull Smashing just going to take care of that Adeline. But in response, Flower considering casting Fateful Absence to at least make a clue and get some value off of this Adeline. But no, just going to let it go. And going to pass the turn back. Intrepid Adversary. That's an interesting one, but not hesitating. Going to cast a second Adeline. 1/1's going to get in. Make another 1/1, getting across for 2. So Skybilz down to 8. Spikefield Hazard, the draw here. Just about able to, it just could cold cast that all runs Epiphany if need be. Has Double Crush the Weak, Prismari Command. There's little bits and pieces of removal here. It's like 2 damage here, 1 damage here, 2 damage here. Can it add up to be enough is the question.
I mean, hoping that it will be, if you are GoGoFlowerRanger, certainly going to pack a punch if it's able to resolve, but there are, again, 2 Crush the Weaks in Skybilz's hand. Unfortunately, being sorceries does mean that we won't super be able to respond too fast.
Yes, and it looks like Flower Ranger very aware of the Hall of Storm Giants on Skybilz' side, holding up that Fateful Absence, being able to cast the Fateful Absence and pay the ward 3 would be beneficial here. So gonna get into the red zone again. Adeline, trigger, making another 1/1. So that'll be 3 1/1s and a 4/4 coming across here for 7 damage. We'll see if those birdies feel like blocking. Oh, and here comes Hall of Storm Giants. And going to allow that to resolve. So a 7/7 ward 3 Faithful Absence. Are you sure? No.
Yes, I'm sure. I saved this mana for a certain reason, and it is for this one.
Yes. So looks like worked out very nicely as Flower having 5 mana, using the 5 mana to take care of that Hall of Storm Giants. Going to investigate, make a clue, and it looks like going to use that mana and the one other mana they had open to crack the clue before moving on to damage. And chump blocking the Adeline and trading with one of the other 1/1. So dropping down to 6 goes Skybilz. And divide by 0, the draw here. Crush the Weak, taking care
Number
of
1.
Yes, taking care of the tokens. 2 damage to Adeline. And the question is, what finishes Adeline here? And it looks like it's going to be Prismari Command, where Skybilz will draw 2, discard 2. And Adeline is gone, exiled off of the Crush the Weak. So still at 6 life. Clarion Spirit, Intrepid Adversary, and Skyclave Apparition in hand on the side of Flower. And this is getting real close. Skybilz still with answers, but not really any way to replenish her hand. She has some learn cards in the sideboard from the Divide by 0, but it's really just a Teachings of the Archaics and Environmental Sciences and a Mascot Exhibition. So
I'm hurting from knowing that this Crush the Week is coming onto the board.
That is painful. Flower's gotten through now. That's 3 of them. 3 of the 4 Crush the Weeks have been seen here. Expressive iteration from Skybilz to kind of build back up that card advantage. Drawing the land here, playing out that land and a Fading Hope, Divide by 0, and a Spikefield Hazard. And this is not going to go too well for Flower. Intrepid Adversary coming down, able to pump twice, but with that trigger on the stack, Spikefield Hazard going to take care of that. And into exile, Adversary goes. Going to still pay, because, you know, why not? No cards in hand, might as well. And another Intrepid Adversary here. Now, there are some temporary answers to this card in Skybilz' hand, and it looks like Divide by 0 will be the first one to come down. Going to take a look at that Learn Board. Mascot Exhibition is quickly selected, and Flower is saying, yeah, that's probably enough. And if that wasn't, wait till you see the layer that Skybilz just drew, giving her access to her entire graveyard as well. Oh boy. Galvanic Iteration cast, doubling up that Mascot Exhibition, and Flower goes, yeah, you know what? I know I'm at 20 life, but I have seen enough. So 2 sideboards we go. Skybilz taking down game number 1. And a lot of sideboarding going on here. It looks like 14 cards just came in. So
whoa.
That lone Maul of the Skyclave staying in the sideboard. 4 Skyclave Apparitions out. 3 Brutal Cathar out. And 3 Portable Hole also out. Now there are 3 Smoldering Eggs in the sideboard of Skybilz. So do you think leaving in some number of removal would like be pertinent here, or do you think it's good to just take out all of your Brutal Cathar, leaving in one Brutal Cathar, but taking out most of your exile effects. Like,
yeah, it's really hard because Smoldering Egg is really annoying, but usually you're hoping to at least do enough damage before it becomes too big of an ordeal. Your taxing effects are just going to be so important here. So things like that, Thalia, things like the Redain, as well as the elite spell binders that went in. So we're really just hoping to get as much out of those taxing effects as possible. I imagine the Smoldering Eggs will come in, but I think you're just hoping that your creatures get big enough that they're not being blocked by the Smoldering Egg and just get to be too much to handle. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, though. Smoldering Egg is definitely one of those weird cards that I never really know how to handle, and I think is, from the aggro standpoint, potentially a little more play draw dependent on whether you care about it.
and now we see both Battle of Frost and Fire coming in here on the side of Skybilz, and like you said, the Smoldering Eggs are coming in as well, cutting all of the Epiphanies. And Flower not liking their 7 so much here on the play, so shipping it back. Going to keep this 6 after Skybilz kept her 7, and although it looks like it's 1 land, there's a Shatter Skull Smashing and a Jawari Disruption in Skybilz's hand, double iteration of Prismari Command and a Goldspan Dragon. Flower going to start us off, though. They play out an Usher of the Fallen with a Luminarch Aspirant into an Elite Spellbinder, so a pretty nice curve here.
Certainly. Ooh. Yeah, do we want to do it onto our attacker this turn, or make Luminarch Aspirant big in case we start running into some other creatures that we need to make big? This is always an interesting decision to be seen being made.
Yes, who is going to be Spikefield Hazard proof here? And it looks like the answer is Luminarch Aspirant protecting itself. And land and just a passing of the turn. Luminarch Aspirant gonna pump itself up once again, and both getting in. So that's a healthy attack for 5. Skybilz down to 13, and we'll see nothing else from Flower deciding to hold open both Guardian of Faith or Valorous stance here.
Guardian of Faith is such a sick card, and I'm actually so excited to see Guardian of the Faith potentially be played here.
Yeah,
potentially not like... this turn, but sorry.
No, that's fine. It's I it's definitely an interesting card against any sort of like Meek Massacre, Cinder Plasms, and it's Crush the Weak. That was the one I was thinking of, like all these sweeper decks and things like that. So being able to protect your creature is pretty important here in mono white, which is why cards like Valorous Stance stay in. And it looks like getting in for this is for 6. Now, this would be lethal next turn if Skybilz does not do something here. And it looks like Prismari Command in hand, a Fading Hope, Galvanic Iteration going to start things off here. And it looks like the follow-up will be a Fading Hope on that Luminarch Aspirant. So, Guardian Faith is going to come down and is going to target Luminarch Aspirant and the Usher, but the copy of Fading Hope had not resolved yet. So this second Fading of Hope can bounce the Guardian back to hand. Not the worst. Hey, now you know that you can protect your creatures again later. And Skybilz was scrying the bottom, something that I'm sure Flower would be very happy to see, but Crush the Weak, the draw here. So that is definitely interesting. We'll see one of the Jawari Disruptions come down as a Jawari Ruins as Skybilz goes to pass the turn back over. Is actually thinking here for a second, but will ultimately pass the turn back over to Flower. So Snow Cover Plains comes down, and this is quite a spot here for Flower and Skybilz. Like, what do you think? The Crush the Weak sort of has to come down here. It is a lethal attack on the side of Flower. So Skybilz is at 7. This would be an attack for 7. Something's got to give. What do you think happens here?
Oh, I mean, we have the Prismari command to deal 2 damage to one of the creatures, but that won't leave us enough mana to do anything else. I'm unsure exactly what the decision is going to be here for Skybilz. Looks like we're trying to pick modes on our Prismari command. Looks like it will be 2 damage, but that Faceless Haven will activate, and the second game is going to go to GoGoFlowerRanger here.
Yes, Luminarch Aspirant pumping up the Faceless Haven doesn't even really need to because that makes it an attack for 8. Skybilz is at 7. So on to game 3 we go. And on bated breath, I am sure, as Flower was waiting to see what Skybilz had in store, and it just was not enough. So game number 3 we will go to. Checking out the sideboards here, seeing if they are happy with their sideboard from game number 2, and taking a quick look at the Brutal Cathar and the Fateful Absence. I actually didn't really see any threats from the side of Skybilz that game. Any thoughts?
Yeah, no real threats, which was probably a little bit unfortunate for Skybilz. Did not see those smoldering eggs that probably would have actually had a pretty decent impact for Skybilz going into that game. And if we see them in this third game, probably will put quite the damper on what GoGoFlowerRanger is trying to do if we don't see a Luminarch Aspirant early.
Yes, and it looks like Skybilz and Flower both happy with their 7s, and we see that smoldering egg in hand, but no real other early plays on the side of Skybilz. So turn 1, Hopeful Initiate on the battlefield, get going. And Skybilz going to draw a Galvanic Iteration, which is technically an early play, but not really so much. So we'll see Thalia come down here. Not going to get in with the 1-2 as it just kind of stonewalled by the 0-4. And going to pass back the turn. Skybilz drawing an island, playing out that Field of Ruin to kind of keep tabs on Faceless Haven on Flower's side. Just going to pass the turn with 3 mana up.
Okay.
Kind of a scary place to be. That
Yeah.
attacks and things.
I was also a little bit worried for GoGoFlowerRanger there. I saw them hover over that Valor Stance after playing the Thalia and only had 2 lands. So if we didn't draw that third land, we probably wouldn't have been in a position to be able to Valor Stance the Smoldering Egg or pretty much anything else. I mean, not seeing your lands is always a bad thing, but taxing yourself out of being able to play one of your own spells never feels good.
Yeah, and it looks like Smoldering Egg just going to get in front of the Thalia to block 2 of the damage, but still take 2 damage from that Hopeful Initiate. So Skybilz will drop down to 18. This is interesting to me. It looks like going to choose to Field of Ruin here. And so tapped out with no answers. Now, Flower is considering this Valorous Stance, and then being able to follow it up with an Usher of the Fallen is kind of tempting.
Yeah, I definitely think it's tempting as well, but it looks like it won't be tempting enough for GoGoFlowerRanger to commit to that play. Simply going to let that land go.
Yes, and so now the damage will be able to come across. Skybilz will fall down to 18. And second main phase looks like Elite Spellbind. No, thought about it. Is it Elite Spellbinder? Redain is in hand. There's a lot going on. Flower.
It is a hard decision here, actually.
Yes. I mean, Jawari Disruption is not an option here on Skybilz's side. So it's definitely very tempting to kind of take even a look, just to be able to see what is going on in Skybilz's hand could be that valuable to FlowerRanger. What do you think you deploy here? Because Redain can start making things more expensive on turn 4.
But I like going for the Elite Spellbinder first. I like being able to look at the hand before deciding to go for any one direction.
Yeah, and it looks like Flower does agree Elite Spellbinder. Taking a little look here, revealing Island, Riverglide Pathway, Shatterskull Smashing, Leer, and Galvanic Iteration. So getting to choose to exile, going to go with the Shatterskull Smashing. Now that saves Thalia and Elite
Spellbinder. Yeah, so I do think that that's good.
In one more turn after this one, I believe. They could have lived one more turn, but going to get more pressure out here on the battlefield. Also attacking for 3 each turn feels pretty good. Now Flower has a better idea of what's going on in Skybilz' hand and what they need to worry about. Galvanic Iteration, Island, Leer, and then a Riverglide Pathway, as the Hall of Storm Giants was the draw on Skybilz' side. So full information for GoGoFlowerRanger and a fistful of spells. It's now a question of what am I going to cast?
What will be the play? What will be the decision? We've got lots of them to make. It's hard because I feel like you want to cast the Redain just to like keep your opponent off of playing some of those bigger spells that really hurt all of your smaller creatures. But you've seen Skybilz' hand and you know that there's not really anything you totally need to worry about just yet. So it's kind of hard to go for that aggressive decision when you know that you don't really need to worry about anything in the immediate future, but it is also one of the best uses of your mana. So it's really a tough decision to be in here right now.
Yeah, and we see some patience on the side of Flower here, deciding to not Valor Stance that Smoldering Egg, holding it for a card like Leer, just recognizing what's important in the matchup and what isn't. Smoldering Egg is kind of a pain because it does gum up the battlefield, but it's not removing any of Flower's creatures. So although it may slow down the damage that is coming across, it won't put a stop to it like Leer might if Sky gets to start flashing back spells from the graveyard. Ooh, we'll see Redain here coming down. And in response, Galvanic Iteration going to be cast just as a 3 mana, add 3 counters to my Smoldering Egg.
I mean, it makes sense. When you don't have a ton of ways to be answering the creatures on the board, the next best thing is just finding a way to get a blocker. So trying to flip this Smoldering Egg into something that can block these flyers that are a little bit more potent is a pretty big deal. So I actually kind of like that play, especially when there wasn't anything in hand that we were really getting close to copying with the Galvanic Iteration.
And it looks like going to pass over that Spikefield Hazard in and a copy of Spikefield Hazard in favor of just casting Leer here. So a 3/4 body onto the battlefield for Skybilz. Skybilz, however, unaware of the Valorous Stance in Flower's hand, and now Flower has some big decisions to make. Been holding this Valorous Stance all match, and it looks like it is time.
It is time. Potentially, maybe. We're still just thinking about it. We're hovering it. It looks like it will be. The decision is uncounterable thanks to Leer. Ooh, but instead of going for the Smoldering Egg, which has been blocking quite a bit of damage for Skybilz in this match, we are going to take care of the Leer, make sure that we can't flashback any spells from the graveyard, and a land was the draw for Skybilz, which is not really where I'm sure Skybilz wants to be, but being able to flash back this Galvanic Iteration and then copy something like the Spikefield Hazard could be very big, as well as being able to turn this Smoldering Egg into an Ashmouth Dragon.
Yes, and we will see that Ashmouth Dragon now ready and raring to go. The Spikefield Hazard going to target the Thalia. The 2 damage, however, from the Ashmouth Dragon, that trigger is going to go where is the question.
Yeah, okay, so we saw a little bit of a hover on Redain, and I like doing this. I like doing 2 damage to Redain and then using the copy of the Spikefield Hazard to finish off the damage. Oh,
Oh.
No.
Oh, I think maybe Sky thought that they get an extra trigger when they copied from the Ashmouth Dragon.
Yes,
So,
okay.
just a little, a little misunderstanding there. Not, no big deal. Is a very nerve-wracking game. So,
Especially when you're at 6 life.
yeah, your 6th life, you've been playing this game's, going over 30 minutes long, and you're playing for top 8. It's a lot of pressure, and you go, oh shoot.
Yeah.
So we'll see Intrepid Adversary here on the side of Flower being able to pump things, and that would force well, not force, but the Hopeful Initiate would then be able to trade with an Ashmouth Dragon unless Skybilz were to not block and allow damage to go through. But it looks like going to go with Thalia here. I mean,
Yeah.
Flower is aware of the options that Skybilz has at this moment, and that's
Yes.
River Glide Pathway and an extremely expensive Shatter Skull Smashing.
And the draw for turn is a Crush the Weak.
My goodness.
Absolutely huge draw
Oh.
here from Skybilz.
That is painful on the side of Flower. Oh my goodness. That's a lot of damage. That's a lot of carnage. And here it comes. Oh my goodness. On the side of Flower, you cannot be happy to see that. Ashmouth also going to finish off something else here. And it looks like that will be the Hopeful Initiate. So just Redain left, and going to be extra cautious, leaving the Ashmouth Dragon back on defense. Thalia, the draw here. As of right now, Intrepid Adversary can't really do too much. Thalia not really doing too much either. Again, can make that Shatter Skull Smashing even more expensive. But we're getting to the point where Hall of Storm Giants can be activated on the side of Skybilz as well.
Yeah, I think there's also definitely something to be said for just continuing to tax anything that Skybilz could potentially draw and just making it so much harder for all of those bigger spells to just gum up Skybilz's hand. So I do like going to committing this Thalia. And I also like that this Shatter Skull Smashing, should we be able to cast it, can do 2 damage from Ashmouth Dragon to Redain, and then 1 damage split between Thalia and Redain. So even just a Shatter Skull Smashing for 2 is enough to clear both of the creatures on GoGoFlowerRanger's side of the board.
Yeah, that would clean up this battlefield very nicely for Skybilz, and it's difficult when you're like figuring out the taxes and things like that, and like needing to fully tap out here to make sure that it's 1 for Thalia, 1 for Redain. You're paying the Thalia tax, you're paying the Redain tax, you're paying the at least Spellbinder tax.
All of the taxes.
Is that enough? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I don't know that it's enough. Because
we might not have enough to cast it.
Because it becomes more than 4, so Redain makes it too expensive to cast.
Like, it's totally possible.
If it was just the 2. So we're seeing it without the Redain cost. We're seeing it with the Elite Spellbinder tax and the Thalia tax, but I don't believe we're seeing it with the Redain tax as well. So, like I said, the most expensive Shatter Skull Smashing of all time.
I believe your phrasing earlier in the match was about 1 million mana.
Yeah. Just about. And it looks like going to just cast it for the lesser amount, being able to cast it, just kill the Redain, just get it out of here. I'm done with Redain.
Causing us enough problems already. I don't want to worry about it anymore.
Yes, Flower still here at 20 life, drawing a Hopeful Initiate for turn, and hoping to kind of scrape back into this one. Going to need a good run of cards to be able to get there. Intrepid Adversary, is that going to come down as a vanilla 3/1 is the question. And it looks like the answer is no, not for now. Going to just pass on things until get a little value out of that adversary being able to pump the team. Skybilz drawing another land for turn and a 3-mana Jawari Disruption in hand. So
certainly getting into rougher and rougher situations as this game goes on for both of our players.
Yes.
And sitting on this Jawari disruption, not really where you want to be. And now that it's starting to feel like we're so close to being able to attack, and this intrepid adversary is going to make it easier to do so, Skybilz could potentially be getting into a worse situation than we've been seeing her in previously.
Yeah, I think I also would have liked to seen that Jawari disruption coming down here. Just get a trigger off your ass mouth dragon and make VMLMTG unable to pay the extra to make that intrepid adversary bigger. But I mean, Skybilz is still pretty ahead, and this Ashmouth Dragon has been holding down the fort pretty efficiently. Hall of Storm Giants also still waiting there. Spiked Field Hazard in hand. Like, that pretty much just reads it's a lightning bolt now. So, but it looks like it's going to take care of the intrepid adversary with the Ashmouth Dragon trigger, and Spike Field Hazard going to kill Thalia. And now just a hopeful initiate on the side of Flower. Ashmouth Dragon confident enough to get into the red zone. So Flower dropping down to 16, and things are getting really precarious at this point. Hopeful initiate gonna get in there. Next turn we can see this Hall of Storm Giants get in. There's a lot of there's a hopeful initiate coming down, and Jawari disruption going to take care of that first hopeful initiate. So there is yet just a lone initiate on the battlefield, and gonna pay the one. Gonna pay the Jawari disruption tax.
Are you gonna pay the one?
Yes. And it looks like an island to draw for turn on Skybilz' side. Not even a bother with the Hall of Storm Giants activation. Guardian of Faith.
That's an interesting draw for turn. I'm trying to decide if there's any interesting plays that can be made with it. I think you can do a block and then phase it out, which could be the play that GoGoFlowerRanger is. I don't know how phasing out works with blocking.
Okay, hold on a second. Now, attack all here, 7-4, that's 11 coming across. And if Guardian gets phases out the whole initiate and doesn't die, then Flower attacks back for 5 here, and Skybilz is at 5.
Yeah.
Is this it?
So if this phasing out and blocking works the way that
did this happen?
Yep. It did just
Flower
happen.
Come back here? Unbelievable.
Wow.
I cannot believe that. Unreal. Flower 7. I was ready to read the obituary, the epitaph. I was, you know what? Had a great season, was undefeated in the Swiss, did really great, 7-0, took down the division, and yet here they are, battling back. Wow.
I mean,
So
Skybilz
impressive.
and Flower both told us it was a nail biter.
I cannot believe that match, that play, expertly navigated by Flower and very, very well played by Skybilz, our Izzet player, who battled back from 1-2 this season to make playoffs again. I believe it's the third season in a row that she did that. Started off 1-2, was able to battle back, make it to the playoffs. But wow, GoGoFlowerRanger, you are phenomenal. Thank you so much for that wonderful display, playing to your outs, never giving up, never say die. I love it, and that's what the VML is all about.
That is what it is all about.
Putting the spotlight on players just like you, who are fantastic, extremely talented, and wow, got to play like that when there is so much on the line again this season, and that's a pass into the top 8 for Flower. And need I remind you, our prize pool this season is $3,500, with
biggest it's ever been.
It's besides the cash, besides the gems, you get Channel Fireball Pro. There's an invite to a set championship for our champion, and also invites to weekend qualifiers for all of our top 8. So congratulations on making it to the top 8. To all of our competitors tonight, we saw Zabracus, Leina, Arya, and Flower all make it through. So that's half of our top 8. If you want to know the other half, make sure you're following us over on Twitter at VMLMTG. Check out our website, VMLMTG.com. Make sure you're following us here on Twitter, Twitch. We're on Twitch right now. We're not on Twitter. Twitch.tv.
I mean, I'm on Twitter too. I've got 3 monitors.
Right?
So who isn't?
Multitasking. Follow us on YouTube if you want to rewatch that amazing 4th match of the evening between Skybilz and GoGoFlowerRanger. Expertly played. And a big thank you to Wizards of the Coast, Channel Fireball, NRG Series for making this season possible. I cannot wait for the top 8 next week. Make sure you're here, same bat time, same bat channel. Thank you all for being here. Thank you very much to our admin team, our fantastic team of casters, all working so hard behind the scenes. Thank you to our players. Obviously, thank you so much to our viewers. And I know I'm getting all pixelated here. I'm getting all like,
you're so excited. You've just evaporated into pixels.
I've fallen apart. I am decomposing here. Thank you to Phoebe, who is trying to depixelate me, but that's okay. I'm just going to keep going and tell Phoebe how much I absolutely adore her and how hard she works. We are very lucky to have her behind the scenes producing for us every single week. And yeah, so
and
be
you're
here
back
It's
next week.
like
I cannot
magic.
wait. It's
Yes.
like magic. Phoebe is like
On a hot
like,
mic right now also, so everybody can hear
oh,
me.
you are?
Yeah. Hi.
Everyone
Say
say
hi to
thank
everyone,
you to
Phoebe.
Phoebe.
Everybody say hi to Phoebe.
I don't do this terribly often, only when it's funny, but I do want to say thank you to everybody who has visited us, all 24 plus of our viewers in there right now. So thank you, everybody. And thank you to Nicole and Beky.
Oh,
We couldn't do
you,
it without
Phoebe.
you, Phoebe.
This is like the one time you should certainly pay attention to the amazing person that is hiding behind the curtain. So Phoebe is
No,
phenomenal,
don't, because
and
I'm
we
not
love her.
dressed.
I guess there's a reason she's behind the curtain. So, and of course, thank you to my fabulous. I couldn't wait till we got back together this season, Beky. They have kept us apart all season, but they couldn't do it any longer. They all had to go and be better at Magic than us and make playoffs. And
in our defense, there were 4 of us in the same division.
There were. Me and Beky actually played each other in the final week. So
it's always a heartbreaker. Somehow Nicole and I are always together, both in casting as well as in division. I think the last 2 seasons we've both been in the same division. And so it keeps happening. Or maybe it was the season before we were in the same division. I've been in the same division as Skybilz for like the last 3 seasons. It's crazy. I'm always with every other caster, it feels like.
We've got we have the production, the production division. That's kind of how it is. But we are and you know what? There's some production moving on to top 8 at the very least. Arya is going on, and I know we're on pins and needles for MightyLinguine versus
Is it Julie?
Yes. Julie Izzet, both playing tomorrow, and I cannot wait to hear about those results. So like I said, make sure you're following us. Follow. Give us some love, show us some love, tell us about your favorite moments from tonight, and can't wait to see you all next week for our top 8, and we're gonna crown a champion.
And I think we're having a live semifinals as well as a live finals. So if there's one that you don't want to miss, because it's going to be intense, it's going to be that week.
Yes, top 4 and the finals, both live next week, right here. See you then.
And then we bat away.